Hello, friends. Oh my gosh, she's doing it on this show too. Hello, hello, friends. It's us once again here to talk to you about Star Wars things and our very hype GM situation. Aabria and I were just sharing in our pre-stream chat that this stream last week was just a full release of endorphins in terms of cool creativity and stuff that came out of it, and we expect nothing less from this stream, really.
100%. Also without the hard pressed time constraint.
No, we can just push all the way into 3-hour territory and be totally fine. Yeah,
this is gonna be a 7 to 36 hour stream. Good luck.
Can you imagine us doing the GM prep for an entire campaign over the course of a 36-hour consecutive stream?
That would be so fun, because I think my brain would break at hour 7, and then brilliant garbage would just spew out. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Just stay up for a day and then write a module.
I used to do 24-hour streams fairly frequently when I was a young streamer. Because it's an event that'll draw people, you know what I mean? Draw people in. It's a dramatic thing. I can't do it anymore. I am old and withered.
You're a grown-ass woman. No one has time for that shit anymore.
I'm old and withered now, and I can't play League of Legends for 24 hours. It's not doable. But yeah, we are back.
Most important question I want to ask off the top before we even get started. Are you left-handed?
I am left-handed, yeah.
Oh my God, me too.
Somebody noted it in the YouTube comments of our last episode because they saw me, I think, writing in my notebook with my left hand.
Hey.
So yes, I am a lefty, confirmed, friends.
We love it. Two lefties.
Yep. There's something. What do you call it? Oh my God, I've lost the word.
No one knows words.
The
we're not responsible for words.
Oh my God, I can't remember. It's it's right there in my brain, but I can't think of it. Stereotypical. That's the word.
Oh yeah.
Stereotypical about lefties in creative work. So.
Yep. Also, we are inherently more U.S. presidential. So all I'm saying is cross that border and come be president.
Oh.
Seems like a chill thing to do.
We're
just doing that now. We just did a president thing. So if you want to swing by and be president for a second.
I don't think I need that much heat, to be honest.
I'm sure it's going to be fine and not a thing.
Left-handed colorblind trans people unite, says Lilith. That's also colorblind.
Are you colorblind?
Yeah, not fully. But
that's fun.
For yellows and greens, I just can't tell the difference. They're the same.
Oh, that's incredibly cool.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself fiddling with, because I do remember this a little bit because we talked about it. There was a fog of war thing.
Yeah, where the aura was lime green and it was
it was what is that? That's nothing.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your game prep or your gameplay is a subtle reflection of those things? Because I always think that that's my favorite thing is how does the GM's personality and priorities
I think
thing sort of filter into their game?
I think I know what I want from a game generally, and while I'm not always the best at expressing that straight up because I want to make sure everybody has a good time, my creative bent bends to this sort of grim, slightly dark sort of setting, danger. I like dangerous, and I like risk. You know what I mean? A little bit of all that. I'm less of the cuddly, happy fun.
What about dumb stuff about you? Okay, I'll give you an example to let you marinate on the truly moronic question I'm asking in this moment. So I'm lactose intolerant, and I have hated cheese my whole life. I had a bad sense memory experience with it as a small child, so I won't eat it, and I can't mess with it. So there is only one of two ways cheese exists in a world in which I am running or playing. It is either the most important thing or hasn't been invented. I am just very weird about dairy.
I feel you're just very focused on cheese. Yeah.
Okay. Where I'm either this is my gaming fantasy is, liking and eating cheese without without consequences, or I'm just this is a world in which dairy doesn't exist. And I think it's the dumbest thing that I always clock looking back at campaigns where I'm I have got to talk to a therapist because I have some dairy based personal issues that always come up in weird ways in my game.
So I can't think of anything that particularly weird. What I will say is that like my character list all have very similar traits. In that they're all very different on the surface, but underneath they are either an underdog, someone who is looked down on by society, or in some way like transformative or like with some like bodily trauma. And they're all of them are that. They have at least one of those like traits, you know?
Nice.
And that's just I totally like I don't realize it when I'm making them, but every time I make them I have something like that in it.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Anyway,
so chat is sort of marinating on our start date. Are we allowed to announce?
We are, yeah. We are allowed, I think, because I've confirmed with Bunny when we're going to start. So I think but we will officially announce the start date here at this time. It is February 19th. Will be episode 0 of the actual gameplay. Now, when I say episode 0 of the actual gameplay, what I mean is that if you haven't been following along with these GM streams up until that point, I don't want to ruin your experience of like learning about the characters and the setting initially, expecting you to have watched all the GM streams. So we want to do the character creation in a session 0 so we can talk about like expectations and whatever with the players and help them through that development, because it's a new system where they don't all know how to play it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're not experts either, right? By the way, thank you to those of you who are experts and have reached out to me recently. I've had several people from our newly christened Star Wars Desperate Gamble Discord reach out with messages of support and like, hey, if you have any questions, or you need any assistance, I'll help you out. So I appreciate that. So yeah, February 19th is the plan for session 0. So we're gonna do the character creation on our first session with the players, rather than on the GM stuff. We're gonna set up the world for them, and they will make the characters in it. And having said world, we will be able to advise them upon what may or may not be a good idea. Speaking of the Discord, it has been jumping for the last.
It's popping.
The last week, it has been hype as hell. We've had a lot of great ideas and offerings, I would say, from chat and from those of you who are keyed in and interested in the campaign, creative stuff, you know. I'll pop you know what? I'll just pop my Discord onto stream for.
I think Ginger threw it into chat. The Discord.
What I mean is like I want to show like some art off that like.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
And I'm not really sure how else I would do that other than like drag my Discord over there.
Okay, I don't know how to do it. Roll the trailer. Do we have the ability for me to scream roll the trailer and then it happens?
Do you want me to roll a trailer? I can.
Okay. Yes. I do.
I would have to set up like a new scene though. And
crap. Never mind.
I'm really prepared for that. So
no, this is the thing I thought about 11 seconds ago.
So like
I just love it so much.
Just in terms of like stuff that has been done that I think is really awesome. And Butt Prince has been drawing art of their own stuff and of other people's stuff, when they allow it. Is like, look at these guys. Look at these guys, the red Fog Raiders, these Gamorrean mercenary squad who hang out in the fog of Vode and specialize in ranged engagements both above and below ground. I mean, come on, got close ranged engagements both above and below ground. And then you're thinking like, well, how do you get in contact with these Gamorrean bros? Well, there's this military protocol droid that hangs out in the local bar, and they get in contact with them. You know what I mean? It's just like really cool.
This is my favorite thing. And like, for those of you that didn't watch last week, totally fine. Welcome. This is all cool and new. The idea of both like opening up to like, we are all arbiters and like stewards of the story that's going to be told.
Yeah.
Like A Desperate Gamble is a group effort now, and it feels so cool to watch the beginnings of it, like external to at least myself. It's very fun as like someone who will step into the GM seat, like as the campaign progresses, going like, look how much of the world already exists walking into it, and we've all been there sort of fostering it together. I'm just, this is my favorite thing that came of last week.
There's like some warm heart feels to that. I
think.
Like, it's like,
I don't have a heart, but where it would be, I think it's kind of, it's like, it's humid in there at least.
All of us are working together. So the other thing that I can show to you that I worked on like during the week, it's not very much work, but I'll show you what I've got. Because I've been poking around at this while we've been away. So
oh my God, wait, was there homework? Because I didn't. Can I copy yours?
There is no homework, but I have done some anyway. So I took the notes that I took in my notebook last week. You guys will remember, who were there. And I made a handout for Vode. So you'll be able to see Aabria in your handouts that there's a handout for Vode. That has all the information that we wrote about it so far, as well as in the GM notes, I have all the information about Utico that we came up with, because, I mean, you would know or not know about Utico much more or less based upon your affiliations with them, whereas Vode is kind of like general knowledge of the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also made our first statted enemy, because I thought I should do this and like make my way through it a little.
Heck yeah.
A little bit and see where we got to. So we have our first statted enemy.
Can we start off by talking about like the sort of tier list of enemies in Star Wars?
So in Edge of the Empire, there are 3 like groups of enemies basically, and they're based on strength. So there are minions, rivals, and nemesis. So minions are like Imperial Stormtrooper is a minion, for example. Like, player characters are expected to go up against groups of like 6 or 7 of them to make it even relatively a challenge. You know what I mean? Ooh. Like, one minion will not be a challenge at all to a player character, generally. Rival is a step up from that. They're sort of like an individual unit. They're still generally slightly more low-powered than like player characters, but they are like strong enough to pose a threat on their own. And then nemesis are like your big boys, like your master bounty hunters and your grand moffs and your crime bosses and so forth are like nemesis level enemies. So they're going to be statted very, very like powerfully. And they often have a trait called adversary, which increases the difficulty of any combat roll made against them by the number that is with adversary. So if they're like adversary 3, they'll be way harder to fight than adversary 1 or something. Cool. Like, depending, because the difficulty dice get stacked up, basically. Because the way that combat works in this system is like, there's a dice pool. I'll just do a test roll here. So you'll see at the top of the character sheet, there's like a dice system thing here that look like greens and yellows and blues and blacks and purples and reds. While
you're doing this, I am just going to jump in and say that you're going to see me taking notes, and some of those notes are about like the very cool work that we're doing right now, and some notes are just from chat recommending cheeses that I might like. So I apologize in advance if at some point down the line I have confused a thing and there's a weapon in our game called Double Gloucester.
All right, nail it. Just great.
Letting you know now.
I'm into it. So the general way that you'd resolve like a combat roll would be like, if the characters have certain skills, they would apply certain dice on the left-hand side of the dice pool. So like greens and yellows often indicate like greens are sort of like stat dice. So if you have like 3 cunning or whatever, you can roll 3 green. But then skills, if you have levels in skills, they're overridden with yellow dice. So instead of rolling 3 green, if you had 3 cunning, you would roll 2 green and like a yellow if you had like 1 perception or something. You know what I mean? Like the skills change what the die is, but the yellow die are more beneficial than the green die in a certain way. And then I basically, depending on the situation, decide like how difficult it's going to be, how many dice I'm going to put up against you. Sometimes that changes based on like, you know, the skills of the enemies or whatever else. But like basically you do that and then you roll. And then it comes up with the result. So that result for 2 green, 1 yellow versus 3 black was 2 successes and a threat. So you succeed, but there is some kind of problem that you're going to have to deal with shortly. for example. And that's basically how things are resolved in this game.
Love it.
There is, of course, stuff like hit points and wound threshold and critical whatevers and so forth. But that's all, it is easily figured out when you get your successes and failures, like how stuff is going to go.
Yeah.
The advantage dice, for example, they didn't come up in this one, but some of the rolls above, if you scroll up a little bit, let me scroll up a little bit. There's some advantages, these little ones with the wings and the little spots. If certain numbers of advantage dice are needed to like activate a weapon's special ability or whatever. So if you got like a repeating blaster and you want to use it repeating, you need to get enough die of advantage to get that special ability going, or like, yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff in the combat system, but basically I've made an enemy. Suffice it to say.
Heck yeah. I was so excited.
And that enemy for our, this is my dice pool, not my enemy. Hang on. So the GM has like a dice pool one that's like specific to the GM for rolling stuff that isn't like player related. Mm-hmm. So our enemy is the Utico Stimhound. I made this guy using an example from I pulled examples from the back of the Edge of the Empire, like adversaries section, and just kind of built up this sort of, has a blaster carbine that I've decided is a modified Utico saw of some kind, like a laser saw, but like it's a blaster.
Gotta give it a cheese name.
No, I don't. I really don't. So we made a blaster for them. We've got a combat knife for them. And they've got various skills, melee skills, range skills, perception skills, so on. They've got 16 wounds, 5 soak because of their armor, because I imagine them to be fairly well armored. And yeah, that's it. They've got a stat line. Basically, they are ready to be engaged with, which is exciting. What that means, having done that once, I feel infinitely more confident about being like, well, we can write up the stats for this other guy or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's much easier.
Heck yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, so that's where we're at sort of mechanically. Obviously the actual writing of like enemy stats and all that kind of fun stuff, I don't want to like clog up the stream by being like, give me 1 second while I just write down like 5 enemies one after the other. Unless
you're good.
I
promise you, chat just name something a Gouda shooter, so we can self-sustain while you do real work.
But so I'm planning to do some of that off stream, obviously.
Yeah. Once
we have sort of classifications of like stuff we want and whatever else, it's easy to then like put stats to the names.
Yeah.
I'd be totally okay with an NPC building stream. I'm going to get to that point eventually. I have to, you know what I mean? But I think there's some other stuff to talk about, like before we get into the
that feels like the bright work of
and stuff I really want to do before I start making real Utico NPCs and real like vicious creatures from the Inverns and stuff like that, is make some equipment. Like specific equipment that like Utico uses and like stat that up. Like I don't want to give them just like blaster carbine. I want to give them like, some Utico specific stun baton or something, like kind of write that up as well, which is easy to do with like the template of equipment. So I don't know. There's some other steps. What else do I have? No, that's about all I did over the course of the week prior.
That's a lot.
Make the handout and get an NPC going.
Yeah, exactly.
Elf's just
gonna
design a whole setting book on stream.
Fuck yeah, do it. I dare you.
We gotta give those rifles the mushroom wood stalks and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The temples of Void are full of artifact weapons. Oh my god.
I hate it.
The cheese jokes. Chat.
I'm so sorry.
What have you done?
I started this. I will not be the one to end it.
I keep clicking to minimize the zoom and I'm just ruining the video call every time.
You're good.
Okay, what else? We mentioned this, but tonally and sort of like expectationally, what are we kind of going for, like, overall? Because we've got a setting, we've got like a gang, you know what I mean? We've got some possible threats. But like, you were asking me in the pre-show, sort of like how lethal, like how like directly bad, how like, you know, all these kind of like very generally, like, as a GM, how are we going to treat failure?
Exactly. Like, these are all the interesting stylistic questions that come down to. So the thing I've been focusing, like, you have so much Star Wars knowledge and you're already starting on the lore. And I think the thing I like, my brain begins on before it gets into the like detail work is the sort of like raison d'etre of, I don't think I said any of that right. I'm sorry, Duolingo.
Pretty good.
I tried my best. Thank you, Canadian person that actually speaks French and knows better than I do. That little green owl, so disappointed. This sort of like, let's align on like GM philosophy, since we're going to be like splitting the work. Like, I will be following the footsteps that you like establish, and I want to make sure that there's no like cadence breaking here. So I think the things that I always want to focus on,
we want to make the same show rather than two different shows.
Exactly. And so much of that comes down to like, how are we thinking about just the sort of like, I guess I always think about things in like very like Hollywood terms of like, who's our target demographic here? Like, who's sort of like stylistically, like who's directing this, and like what's the threshold for like, you know, not like just cusses, but also like, how do we treat death? How do we treat gore? How do we treat the risk that we are offering to the player characters? Like, does this feel like a Game of Thrones level? Like, if you screw up, or even if you don't, like, death is on the table and you could like get turned through. How do we communicate that, like, surprise, you're playing the Darkest Dungeon, don't get attached to anyone because you're going to be turning through characters? Or do we treat it with more of an eye to the like priorities and sensibilities of the original IP, which is really stronger with this idea of like plot armor for characters until, and I love this phrase, so I'm going to say it instead of letting you say it, which is so mean of me. This idea of like destiny is the determinant of like a good death for like a main character. And I love that so much. And like, that's the thing that like my brain is alighting on and thinking about and trying to like build a game from.
To give you a sort of example of like where Star Wars sits in all of this, it sits all over the goddamn place because there's a lot of media. There's a lot of media for a lot of different, you know, vibes. But like our landing point is sort of like Mandalorian, kind of like original series of Star Wars. Like the you know, like the movies are a great touchstone, but they're also the touchstone of like fate and destiny and the Skywalkers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're talking a lot about like rising to the occasion in a heroic fashion, and
it's Campbellian monomyth to the nth degree.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas you've also got your like Rogue Ones where everyone is doomed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or your I don't know, your Clone Wars where it's a little softer at the beginning and then the consequences sort of build up as you go, and suddenly it's an adult series rather than a kid film. You know what I mean?
Clone Wars is such a good
way.
Such a good primer for like, here's adult like stakes. So we'll like buy you in with like this like sort of episode of the week, problem of the week, and it's cute and it's light and they like do little goofs when they fight, and then by the end it's like you did it, you graduated. Here's stakes
like
for adult level fiction.
Here's the Revenge of the Sith stakes, because that's where we're at now. You know what I mean? Like,
so good.
That's the level we're playing on, which I think is great. My general vibe for Star Wars is that Star Wars as a series and as a whole thing, like, leans so much on the idea of failure being a plot hook. In terms of like, you fail to fix the hyperdrive is broken, you get captured, you know?
Yeah.
Or you have to do a daring run through the Death Star, you know? Like, you failed to convince Jabba the Hutt that you were a powerful Jedi. Welcome to the Rancor pit. Here you go. This is a consequence of failure that isn't death, but threatens death. You know?
Can we talk about like, Oh man, this is going to be like real GM speak of like when you know your table and think about like play style. And we've been together since June. So like over half a year now of playing, but we've played very specifically in D&D, which has this very tactical wargaming sense of like solving encounters and like winning. There's a very strong vibe in our group of like must win the module and like nail it and crush it. And there's like points for style of like getting in, getting out, using your character, your optimized character effectively and doing the thing. So like how I think the thing that as a GM I want to think about and talk about is like how do you teach a group to accept and embrace failure as a vector for forward momentum for a narrative.
So what I think is interesting about that, and I can't speak to our group in general because like you said, we've played a very pass-fail game. Yeah. D&D is like you either win and beat the module or you die and you lose. Like that's it. There is no like lots of people talk about there being a middle ground. There isn't one.
I feel like I would love to have this argument with you about like this. It's not Star Wars specific. I don't necessarily believe that that's true, but like that's a whole discussion for another day.
I will cede that when you are writing your own content, you can make a middle ground, but D&D when played by the rules by the module is pass fail.
Yeah, I've run a ton of Ventures League, and that is absolutely true. And I think there is this weird space that like D&D has built into it, the idea that like it is flexible enough to not have to do that, but it doesn't necessarily incentivize you to not do that unless you're like trying to kick the door down away from its intention.
Unless you're buying into changing the intention. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. We had the whole conversation and then we agreed and I love you. So we did it and I'm proud of us.
My cat has decided to take residence. What I will say for Star Wars and for this campaign in general is that the way that we teach them is we make it about them. Because what we're doing right now is we're building up a world that they can play in. And they will be the ones with the motivation to do or not to do certain things, right?
Yeah.
If they want to team up with Utico and smuggle some fog to, Imperial Remnant forces, I can't really stop them from doing. I'm okay with following that narrative. I know that our group is going to be like heroically focused and they're not going to be like doing stuff with the Empire probably.
I wonder because I feel like there might be, and this is also my fault because I think I tend to like love flirting with that little like be a little bad because it's sexy. And
honestly, like I would too. So
I think we will probably as players at the table be the driving force to be like, I mean, I hear what you're saying about being a hero, but
we need to fulfill our obligation and we need credits to do that. So
exactly.
The easiest way to get them is to help X person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and what I mean by make it about them is like, again, that obligation comes into play where every character will have a baked in motivation to do something.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think our people will be able to role play out of nothing.
This is not a like a read on anyone's ability. Like everyone here has the range for it. I think it's just more of a like the stimuli thus applied to our that's been applied to our group for the last 7 months will be meaningfully different than the like priority set and like mentality that Star Wars presents.
So my general vibe for Star Wars is adventure, action, sort of like sometimes funny, like jokey kind of like devil may care sort of vibes, because there's a lot of that in Star Wars. There's a lot of like, I'm in a dangerous situation and I'm making a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of stuff that goes on. And like, there are so many options for failure that aren't dying.
Yes.
Star Wars uses like all kinds of them. You know what I mean? Like, capture is like the easiest one. Like getting thrown, getting captured in Jabba's palace or whatever is like some classic stuff. Like get the rest of the team to rescue you, when they escape, but you're like locked up in wherever. And then I get to do the fun part of like narrating two things happening. I very, very, very much don't like random death.
Yes.
If you are facing off against Darth, whoever the fuck I have invented for this,
Darth Chelsea. Hi, join the dark side. What's wrong?
It wouldn't be the dumbest Sith that ever existed in Star Wars. But
Dad got me this job.
He
said I need to get out of the house.
If you're facing off against like Darth, whoever the fuck, and you choose to fight and you choose to do something climactic, then I expect that you could die.
Yeah.
Am I going to kill you with a random thug who shoots you in the chest and you explode? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not. If the hand of the Emperor comes for you, then there might be death on the line. But if it's just like some Gamorreans or something, you're probably not gonna die. But you might get really severely injured. Star Wars loves severe injuries.
Exactly, like critical injuries and rallying from that, and in that same way, like critical failure and somehow leveraging that to victory. So I feel like there's got to be something
off the top of my head. I can think of like 7 limb chop off moves in Star Wars.
Wait, spoilers! I haven't seen a Star Wars yet.
The chat says that we can have spoilers for everything. I can think of blindings. I can think of like, oh God, I can think of all kinds of things. Getting cut off from the Force. I can think of losing your ship for some reason.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say shoe just then.
Losing your shoe.
You'll lose a shoe and it's going to be so weird.
You're going to be walking around, you're going to be uneven. having a moon dropped on you wasn't more.
That happens sometimes.
That's such a good callback. That's such a good, it wasn't I know what you're talking about and I'm into it.
I think the big thing here is like, yes, I think there's so many.
Chat says Maul got his Sith ass cut in half and he lived.
Bounced back because he's got a little wolf in him. It all makes sense. Yeah, I think the big thing I want to like alight on here is just sort of pointing out and looking at the DNA of Star Wars and saying like, this is a series that absolutely loves like tearing things down and saying that even when like the chips are the most down and you are only literally half of the man you used to be, you can still like crawl out of the like Sarlacc pit and like get your own spin-off, or be Darth Maul later. So
but I also think like to some degree that's only true when people like the character, right? So there's a degree of like fan influence and a degree of like writing influence that's like that guy can survive because he's the coolest motherfucker around. You know what I mean? Like, and the player character can survive because the story is like about them. And
that's the thing. Yeah. If all of the player characters are sort of like by virtue of them being at the table, you are all the coolest people in this world. Like you're going to have that sort of rule of cool plot armor. And by my whole like overarching
Han Solo only dies when the story's not about him anymore.
Exactly. That like just attenuating the party to the idea of like, if things start to break bad, don't seize up, don't panic, keep digging the hole down and maybe you'll dig all the way through the earth and find victory on the other side.
Well,
like,
and Star Wars
commit to the like, it's okay if you don't win it first. Keep failing in that pathway 18 ways. There's still a vector for success here. You just have to keep digging and find it.
But I also think thematically that like Star Wars lives in the space of the first one didn't work. Holy fuck, we're on the last attempt. Like, we're gonna die almost for sure. The Death Star's lining up to the base, and we get it in the last second. You know what I mean? Like it lives in that space.
Yeah, 100%. And keeping that like top of mind as GMs to like not only curate what the story will be and sort of like the set dressing and the set pieces and the stakes, but also like communicating that sort of sense of like sort of pulpy, like you're the cave is falling down, you go back and grab the hat, like just that little bit of a wink of like the delightful stretching of disbelief that a hero is just a little bit cooler than how the real world would allow one to be.
Death in Star Wars is narrative unless you're expendable. That's just kind of like how it works. And I think
it'll be fun to figure out how to like
I want to play
that in the game.
I want to play with danger, but I don't want to murder you.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? I want to play with you're surrounded by Imperial stormtroopers. You have your blaster in the holster. Are you going to draw? Like, are we starting like this shootout here, or are you going to surrender and you're going to let them capture you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these kinds of questions. Like, and I will preface any real and present danger with the idea that it would be real and present danger.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're choosing to go up against like 5 dark troopers in a hallway to get to your friends, that's a heroic action, but you're unlikely to succeed, and maybe you will, but I'm gonna make it real difficult, and you could die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but like reasonable action will probably not result in death. Is what I would hope for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just very excited to like convey to the table and to be a part of a table where like this sort of like swagger smirk is part of all of the like selection mechanisms as a PC. To like you're choosing a normal safe choice would be don't do that thing, but you could probably like flex into it, and even if it goes bad, it could go bad the best possible way.
Well, because it's like, are you gonna threaten that group of thugs on the table and you like try and get them to like do what you want? Oh, now there's a fight. Oh, you lost the fight. Oh, but they thought it was pretty fun actually. And like, what do you want? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like oh, it's all that good stuff.
Like, and I think even that can happen. Sort of thing.
Yeah, feels good.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Roll positive. I have to address this just because Maul is like one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. If Maul was so awesome, what was up the second meeting of Obi-Wan? That scene is about Obi-Wan, not about Maul, and Maul's end is a narrative in Obi-Wan's story, not a narrative in Maul's story. Maul's end is narratively beneficial to Obi-Wan because it's Obi-Wan growing and choosing and being a better Jedi than he was when he last fought him. Even though he won the first time, he only won by like really pushing himself in a way that is like not a way you should do as a Jedi. Basically, he's like angry. The second time, he fakes Maul out because Maul has not grown. Maul has not become a different character. Maul has held on to old hatred and like kept to this like gross obsession with Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan knows that and chooses to do the like Qui-Gon stance like this, knowing that Maul will try and do the same trick and push his elbows up, and he doesn't let it happen, and he beats him in 3 moves. Like, it's about Obi-Wan, it's not about Maul. Maul's story was already over. Like, his story was, I'm obsessed with Obi-Wan, eventually I will die. Like, that's it.
Love it.
Anyway, sorry,
that whole moment.
I had to.
Hey, don't apologize.
I had to address it.
That was real cute. Obi-Wan is a big old nerd.
He is a huge nerd, yeah.
Cute though. Oh, can there be like a hot? That was the end of my thought.
Can there be like a hot? Yeah, probably somewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got you.
Nerdy Wan Kenobi. All right, that's my character's name now. Sorry. My character thus far has been the amalgamation of like whimsy built by chat.
Yeah, what was their name? Like Scrabbles?
Yeah, it was Scrabbles.
Last week.
But now Scrabbles is the code word for Nerdy Wan Kenobi.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So back on track a little bit because I just got
How dare you?
Way off track with that like nerd spewing about Darth Maul. What do we need to do next? What is our next step? Because my immediate read would be we have a general, like a planet. We have like a threat. We probably want to do is invent some specific like locations or places of interest that we can fill with some nice NPCs. Because like Vode's gonna have a spaceport. You know what I mean? That's basically where I'm imagining where things will start, because if they have a ship, they'll be landing, and that's like the beginning of the scene in my mind. And then it's like, so what's in the spaceport? You know, like once you go underground, what's like the first hospitality you encounter? Like, how obvious is like the Utico presence? Like, is there muscle around? You know, like these kinds of things like are like what my brain immediately goes to for like.
I really like this because it's really nice having the opportunity to talk to another GM while working on the same project to see how someone else builds. And I feel like you build from the specific and go broad. And I like that so much. And
I like to build a thing and then grow out from that one thing.
Yeah. I think I am the opposite. Like, I think I build in, like I do like big broad strokes and then allow my ADD to like lead me down a bunch of whimsy paths.
The other thing that I would say that we should think about as like the creative angle, where we don't really need to write anything down, but we need to have an answer, is what is disrupting space travel from Vode? Because I think we need something to be. Because the only way we can keep people on planet, right, are saying nicely to the group, please spend some time here, which I'm not I'm not averse to, because as a DM, like, you put work in and you expect people to care about it. But also there's damage their ship in some way that they have to fix, right? Which, I mean, doable. And then there's the whole, like, do you work with Utico to make credits? Do you work for, like, this guy in the cantina who's, like, being hassled or something? You know, like there's a lot of options there. Like, damage in some way they have to fix. Or have some plot resolvable blockage, right? That prevents it.
Yeah, I think the sort of, like, larger scale blockage begs a bigger question of, like, what is the sort of overarching, like, what is the thing we're trying to say about the world? And how do we start seeing that?
So here's my immediate read. Utico is powerful right now because the Imperial credit is not worth a lot, and it was the like coin of the galaxy. You know what I mean? Up until the Empire fell, and then the Imperial credit's not worth anything basically, unless you're in Imperial Remnant territory. And then you've got, like, you know, the Republic coming in and, like, trying to set up this new government with this new, you know, system of banking, and things like fog don't devalue. You know what I mean? Like, it's an asset that has made Utico powerful because it is still worth, like, money, even though the money is not worth much, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into the, like, we wrote into the backstory of Utico that they were supplying the Empire with combat stimulants, basically, right? Like, as part of their deal, which means they have Imperial contacts, which means some of those contacts are still alive and probably still trying to get combat stimulants from Utico for the Remnant, you know, to like equip these super powerful stormtroopers.
So what if our main story here is about watching our sort of, like, main character, our main group? They are attached at the hip of this sort of weirdly, like, flexible and elastic and weathering the storm group, that they are sort of under the umbrella watching the, like, dissolution of an empire and the shattering of, like, the vestiges of civilization and society.
And, like, nowhere is that worse than in the Outer Rim, where we've, like, set ourselves, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It was already a lawless wasteland. Once you take away the empire and the stability that, like a structured military fascist organization, like, provides, you're at the like the mercy of whatever wants to take over. Yeah. You know, and whatever has the power to do that. I mean, and Utico is the answer, right?
So what if we make Utico this sort of, like, first warlord that wants to pop up and out, and like, have that be, like, the slow burn for the campaign of just Utico is here going, like, our product is going to stay valuable because it is value, and we don't care if we're trading in money or resources,
like money or guns or food or building
it will always,
supplies.
it holds its worth. In fact, it's harder now because all of the infrastructure that it's the joke about Mussolini, like he made the trains run on time. Like, sure, as all of that falls away, you still want what I have. So now there's this sort of like, you're going to come to me, the head of Unico, to try to as these sort of
it's definitely
fringes of imperial forces. You still have to come to me. Now you're dealing with me directly, and we can have our party sort of watching this vacuum and slow transference of power to a group that they are neutral to, well aligned with. I would like them to start off in the good graces of Utico, and then make their decisions on what they want to do from there.
Smugglers, bounty hunters, and mercenaries are always going to be in the good graces of Utico, right?
Exactly.
These are people who would work for them.
So then we have the slow realization
but
that
are you okay with Utico being this force that is slowly siding with the Imperial Remnant, and the eventual return of they are asking for power, over other people that they don't deserve, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And sort of the realization that the sort of harmless bad guys that you're with could actually make a meaningful move to not just side with the Imperial forces, because they were always aligned with them, but to become them, to become a new, worse iteration. If lawful evil is bad, chaotic evil is so much worse.
And that feeling where, the guy, the thug from the street gets a badge of official authority, and now shit is really bad.
Exactly.
Sort of thing, the system's local governors kind of stuff.
So sort of having that be the...
My question, I really like that as an overarching sort of movement of this thing that is sort of chaotic evil is getting support from lawful evil. Yeah. And that is creating a situation where nobody is going to have a good time. And how long do you want to let that happen?
Exactly.
And if the answer is you want to let it happen, then we get to do the fun stuff Utico gets enough ships, goes to other places, starts fucking shit up and taking over, you know what I mean? And
100%.
Kind of doing that. But my thought about a blockage of the system is what if the New Republic has a sniff on this? You know what I mean? What if they're we know that this stuff is going to be exported out to the Empire, and they're trying to blockade Vode?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you've got the New Republic doing this thing that really inconveniences the players. Really inconveniences them.
Yes.
But that is essentially kind of the good aligned thing. You know what I mean? To try and limit this power. And then what do the players do about that? Are they pissed by the fact they can't get off world? Do they talk to the New Republic officials? Do they try and get meetings with people? And
Girl,
then
I love this so much.
And then we get into well, yeah, you can leave the planet, but you have to spy for us, or you have to find out where these shipments are going. And when you do, we need to know, these kinds of things,
Yeah.
Vode is in the Outer Rim. Yes, we haven't.
So I like this idea that the sort of fundamental problem that we're starting with is Vode will grow in importance in all of the worst ways, because
it has a resource that no matter what you consider the usage of is valuable. Yeah. Right? Like cocaine still has a value even if you're never going to use it, right?
Yep. Exactly.
But it's the same kind of thing. It's a small backwater that's under control of a company that has garnered a lot of power recently. And I want to say recently.
And has adapted itself to making it a stronghold. So it's really hard to do a thing that's you can't just have an uprising here. You can't just have someone land and tell them to stop. They are entrenched in a way that
they own the planet. They're rooted. They're rooted in it. And one of the things I put in the Utico handout is a legion of troops wouldn't be able to breach the strongholds underground that Utico possessed because they've had so much time to build them.
Exactly.
These are your automated gun turrets, your droid defenses, your cameras everywhere. It's a nightmare.
Yep.
But yeah, I like the idea of like, vote is nothing, but soon it will be a lot.
Exactly.
You know,
So do you stand by and like as you're just trying to scrape out like survival, you are sort of by virtue of not interceding in their growth, you are like culpable for it. And where do you stand with like who are reasonably like the capital G good guys in the world? Like, how do you approach and then face down the idea of like becoming a hero or like the person that, despite your self-conception, will be remembered in history as a villain?
Yeah.
And I think that's the fun thing to play with a desperate gamble.
and like the players have expressed an interest, and they like I've heard this from them that they want to make sure that they're playing like a good aligned thing. You know what I mean? They want to play the good guys. They don't want to support fascism.
Yes, of course.
in space, right?
Yeah.
But you want to give them the challenge of being the good guys, not just go like, you're the heroes. You know what I mean? Like, you are here to solve this problem. Like,
I absolutely agree. I think good it's never interesting if it's easy. If you can just look at first blush and go, they are bad and I will stand against them. And the goodness of my righteousness will shine and gleam off of me like armor, blinding my enemies and allowing me to see.
And
what this
immediately makes me think is, what would be really great is if we could, while we're doing the character creation or something, like get somebody who's like in some way character creation related to the Utico stuff. Like is in some way like, you know, and we'll like talk about that obviously, but like immediately I'm like, we need at least one native like Vodian, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we can make it happen from there.
I mean, I would like to volunteer as tribute just because I've been here for all of it and it makes sense.
And like we can plot that because we're both here to do that.
Exactly.
To help the others sort of like push them in directions and stuff. Not that I want to guide them anywhere in particular. If they decide that they want to support the Imperial Remnant and smuggle Fog to the, you know, the secret bases in Bastion or whatever, heck yeah, I can run that. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a squad of X-Wings try and steal your shipment or whatever, and like, if you want to shoot them down, that's on you. You know what I mean? I'm just the world. Like,
exactly. And I think the fun thing about deciding to be a hero is that you have to decide, you have to figure out what hero is, and then figure out how you go about it. Because I think Mandalorian's done that really well too, where they've like brushed up against new like Republic figures that are like directly counter to his individual like purposes, though he knows in how he like deals with them that like there's no reason to be cruel with them, even though they are the
immediate example is that one guy on the prison ship that won't give them the key or whatever, and everybody's like, just kill him, and he's like, you can't kill him, you know? Like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that's definitely the space I love playing in too.
I would love to start in a place that is morally neutral, because the characters initially without motivation will be morally neutral, because that's what Edge of the Empire provides, right?
Yeah.
It provides you with Han Solos and Boba Fett's and you know, like survivalist explorers and politicos and like that kind of stuff. Like, you can play a character who's like all, you know, charm talky Lando Calrissian if you want to, like, but you can also play a character who's like Boba Fett on steroids. You know what I mean? Like, there's kind of like a lot of options, but they're all very like, we've survived despite authority rather than we've survived because of authority.
Exactly. I think, but God, that's such a good phrase. And I think that like puts the nail on the head, that like the thing they're going to be struggling with, the change that drives growth or a fall from our players is starting off as people who have derived their living sort of skirting and flouting authority, and then realizing that like in the sort of like ruins of the Empire, the thing that they are currently like sort of standing by is becoming the new authority.
Yeah, like there's
so where do you see yourself?
The
now?
scrappy gang they've been making credits with is suddenly like kind of a system warlord.
Exactly.
Like,
so what do you do now? Like, do you maintain that self-conception of like, no, we do not deal with authority, or do you have a sense of like obligation that like now that something's happening at a scale and a perspective at which I feel like I can personally do something about, where does your morality kick in? Are you purely self-interested? Do you have a stronger sense of like what you want from the world? Like I'm thinking a lot about one of a character that's not that great from the Serenity movie, the villain and his like sort of dying monologue of the like, oh yeah, we don't get to live in that world. No. We're just like part of the people that make it. And I think that's such an interesting like anti-hero or sort of anti-villain perspective to have.
Give me any cool villain speech and I'm all there for it.
I've always believed that a story is only as good as its villain is. So
well, and then speaking on that, we should write the guy who runs Utico.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
We need to write whoever's in charge.
I'm gonna love them so much.
I think that's really important because the vibe I've been getting is this is an official company turned criminal.
Yeah.
And I one of the things I noted, or that we noted last week, was that Utico does like a fung lung infection initiation. Basically, like you're gonna be breathing the fog for the rest of your life if you work for Utico at the lowest levels, because you got to be out there, you know. But the guys at the top, or the people at the top, never had to do that because they were already in charge of the company when it became a criminal enterprise.
Exactly.
And it's that whole thing, and maybe this is just like I'm pulling from media that like I am currently embroiled in, but like I get this vibe of like there is this person at the top who is incredibly charismatic, like very charming, very very easily talk toable. I'm thinking like the first time you meet the governor in Walking Dead. Right? I don't know if you've watched The Walking Dead.
I'm so sorry. I was just on The Walking Dead's channel and they made this reference also and I did not get it.
Okay.
Because I made a character that was like all charisma and basically turned into a warlord by the end.
No, you did it then. Sorry. You did it. But like I'm thinking like very charming, very like socially capable character.
Yeah.
But then you have like several people one rank below them or like two ranks below them that are like career criminals, you know what I mean? Like these people who have like tagged onto this because they can see the value in working for this like illegal organization and have risen up to be like these lieutenants who are the people who are capable of like, you know, pistol whipping and shooting things and, you know, generally giving like really nasty orders to people. But the guy at the top is just like deals with those people in like a very business-like way, is like kind of how I'm reading it. You know, they're probably a horrible person, but they don't present as a horrible person when you first meet them.
How do we feel about like a romantic partnership and having one person that's sort of like, because I'm thinking of like CEO versus president. So who's like the outward facing in the partnership and who's the sort of inward facing. So the outward facer is the one that sort of is the like, Utico is the United Timber Corporation, and luxury imports.
So what you're saying is one of them is like this legitimate business person, and then the person that they're in bed with literally is like this criminal enterprise like genius.
Exactly. And technically both do both, but they're like very good about the division of labor here is like, you never put me in a room where someone's getting shot because I need like the plausible deniability. Yeah. So they are both ruthless in different directions.
I really enjoy the ruthlessness of like, I know exactly what is happening, but I will never acknowledge it.
Exactly. Ever. That is my favorite thing. I'm also like a seasoned into The Sopranos, which I have a whole lot of
Oh my God, Sopranos.
Okay, so I have a lot of probably very spicy opinions about why it's not as good as I want it to be.
You know, like it has aged in a way that I don't agree with.
I think it is a herald of, but not a member of, like, the sort of golden age of television that tells interesting stories. But I'm not convinced now with the breadth and depth of the stories that have come about because of it, that it's sort of like ushered in. I don't know if it's quite there.
It is definitely one of those at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Shows. James Gandolfini and Edie Falco are gifts, and I think there's this like the steep cliff of like ability. Anyway, all of that to say, I love this idea of Melfi and Tony's relationship. Of like, we have to have these conversations where we talk about deep things that can't really skirt around like fundamental truths about you, Tony, but I need you to never say the thing that you want to say because I am culpable.
Like, you have to tell me what you're up to, but you can't do that. Like,
exactly.
You have to let me know what's going on, but I can't know also.
Exactly. And I love that as like, bring these two together, like add in like the extra problem of like romantic entanglement and just put it that one level of like, we both know what we're doing here, but we never quite talk about it, right? And there's this like this bizarre, beautiful tension in it.
My immediate thought about that is the issue is how to show this to the players. I mean, it's something that you would discover over like a long period of time. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't something that you would reveal immediately. Though Star Wars does a really neat thing that I might copy, which is cut occasionally to the villains doing stuff the players are not privy to.
Yes.
Like, the heroes do not know this is happening, but I am going to run a scene with X and Y talking about something else. You know what I mean?
I think there's a really cool opportunity here. Part of the world in which, like, because we are all remote gamers, there's cool things we can do that are features and not bugs about like people aren't in the same location and we can do stuff with tech. It would be amazing if like at certain points, if we wanted to bring in a person that plays with you and off of you as the other half of that couple and will eventually come in and be like a sit-in villain, that you can like have scenes with them, even if they're like pre-recorded and you just run the tape of it. That like, here's a scene that the audience needs, and for the sake of like us having like a overarching narrative, like that you see, but it's not strictly improvised. It's just building the world, and you as a player can know about it, but your character doesn't, and now the audience knows too.
You do a little bit more, do a little bit more of that like movie vibe. Yeah.
Why not?
No,
we're doing a movie IP. I'm so excited.
I agree. And my immediate thought was like, Star Wars would suck a lot more if we didn't cut to Darth Vader on the bridge of the fucking Super Star Destroyer talking with his lieutenants about what we're gonna do next every like little while, and get a read on that. If you only ever knew from Luke Skywalker's perspective what Luke Skywalker was up to, that movie would suck.
Exactly. Exactly. And chat's being very, very gracious and talking about how it worked in the Unleashed, which was a game I GM'd. I will say that the only thing I would have wanted to try to pull off, but we were like up against it with like budget and timing, and it was such a mad rush to like pull off the show at all, is if we had had the time and space between episodes to like fill in with more information and more of those scenes that didn't necessarily require like the full film. Like, the world's different if we can like fully film a thing, but if there could be like interpersonal scenes that are like taped in the space between episodes that speak directly to like actions and like consequences that arise during the game. Like, to me, that's just cool as shit, and I would love it.
The other thing I really like about Star Wars in general is that referring to the source material, it does not make me afraid of the players splitting up to do different stuff.
Yes.
Because I can run 3 RPGs at the same time. Like I'm not worried about that. I've seen it done lots. When we played Burning Wheel all the way back in forever a million years ago, us on this channel, our characters were almost never in the same location. Like we were always like occasionally meeting up to and whatever, but like splitting the party is totally fine. Like doing all that kind of stuff is fine. Would I have them all in the same session? Yeah, I still would, because everybody's still part of it, and I want to make sure I can refer to people when I need them. Is the other thing. And splitting up the sessions means scheduling, and I would rather just get everything done on the same day. You know what I mean? And if we want to do cuts to villains, because we're co-GMs, we can just go like, And now we make a cut to deep within the Utico base, you know, where there is a plushly appointed couch that was a woman is lounging upon, saying something like, "We really
that was the other thing I want us to play.
We really need to deal with whatever." And then the two of us can just play the villains at each other. Yeah,
that was the other thing. I was like, what's the like little wink towards 2DMs? Just like two big bad guys. We could just do that. It would be really cute and fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, if we think of something that needs to be said in the moment that we can't like pre-record, you know what I mean? Like, because there's two of us, we can play any scene in private, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the players just get to watch us be assholes for like 10 minutes or something, you know what I mean?
I love it so much.
And because we'll be doing the GM streams each week prior to the show, like, the idea is we're going to keep the GM streams going, and we're going to set track in front of the players as we like continue.
Yeah, it's basically the weekly DM prep.
Is that we'll know in the episode coming up when we might need to do that, and we can script it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, so that we can be like, these guys are going to need to do this or whatever. And
what are the things we need to like a beat sheet of like, okay, here's the things that we want to convey for the audience and for the players, not their characters, and like make sure we bring up like this thing that's beginning to happen that's like a new plot hook that like will tie into them in an episode or two.
Know, or something that we've referenced several times, like there's an increased presence of like guards or something. And you're like, well, why is this? And then you get to do a little like side scene of like the villains are up to something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's a really cool vector for exposition in a way that still feels fun and leans into the idea of Star Wars as like cinematic fiction and the things that happen in those kinds of stories. So I'm very into it.
No, me too. And I think, like I said, Star Wars benefits from a occasional cut to Kylo Ren smashing a fucking monitor or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, if you only got to do it from, you know, Finn's perspective, then the story would be really different. You wouldn't see hardly any of it. So I think that's a good idea. I think we need to write these characters at the top of Utico. I don't know if that's the thing. My immediate 100%. Brain is like, just do it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we can do it now.
We'll just write them, you know?
So, okay. So then the question is, let's treat this like a character gen session. So which one out of this partnership do you want to be? The criminal one or the clean one?
I can do either. But
I know you have the range. What do you want to do?
I want to speak more generally about the characters before we assign them.
I hate you. I don't hate you.
Wow. Ow. My plan today is I'm not ready to stat them up yet. Like fully. Fair. What we'll do is we'll stat them up at the beginning of next GM session, but cool. I'd like to have like names, appearance, like motivation kind of stuff. That we can like fully appreciate, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Which one you want to make?
No, I got you. But I was clarifying for chat that I'm not gonna whip out the character sheet and start this guy has like 4 brawn and like 3 or whatever. Like that's not like the level of characterization.
Are there dice in this game? God,
there are indeed.
Oh God.
My immediate like first Buck Trends like desire is that the clean one be like this very charming man, and the and the criminal one be this like really rough and tumble lady.
Yeah, I love that.
You know, just to sort of like that's what immediately comes to my brain.
What if the rough and tumble lady is actually like the inheritor of like is actually like the heir to the Utico like fame and just was raised very much as like the wartime head of this family, and so basically had to marry clean to maintain the facade of
you're like
legitimacy.
You're like marrying for PR.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's actually the one who like owns the company. So to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. So you just why not marry your CEO and be like, just get out there and keep selling us.
Just get out there and make us look legitimate. Yeah. We're going to keep generating this horrible drug. But talk about our luxury fungal wood furniture.
Yeah. Go sell a desk or two, baby.
Yeah. Could hire a PR person, but marriage
is
cheaper.
so much cheaper. Yeah. Also, like, I do want there to be like that extra complicating factor of like they genuinely love each other.
Oh yeah, no, they're
and
like
that makes all of that so much worse.
They're like highly tied together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of them will not betray the other one. Like it's not gonna. They are a duo. I think that is an important point to make because the players may do the whole like, but you're so legitimate. Why are you with this person? Yeah.
Yeah, like that's such a good vector to say like, no, like you could be good too, and to just have our clean husband just be like, oh, you didn't understand.
No, you don't get
like,
it. Yeah.
No, I love them, and please understand. I know exactly what's happening. And I'm you're on the wrong side of this.
Yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree.
And this is so wild because I've literally never shot someone before, but I'm about to. And then pulls a gun like a badass.
It's the whole like, she gave me this for our 5th anniversary. I've never fired it, but I'm going to. Bang.
Yeah, exactly. Like how I love them so much.
Okay, but here's the Star Wars question.
Yeah.
Are they human?
Oh, I don't know. They're both the little monkey lizards.
I think no, they're not. They're definitely not Kowakian. They're definitely not Kowakian monkey lizards. Though we did have a submission from the Discord that was a Kowakian monkey lizard. You specifically told them not to make, but they did anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna have a fight. They're in chat. Tell them to step up. We have to have a fight. I smacked that character out of their hand. Also, hi Ryan. I love this idea that they pretend that they're not that in love, just to sucker in people that would try to tear them asunder. Anyone that gets close enough and thinks that they would try to sow the seeds of dissent. And this is a whole ruse that has caught so many little strivers and climbers.
People who are like, I could run the company better than her. You should let me take her out or whatever.
Exactly.
And then during the night, that guy's disappeared. You know.
Yeah, it's a perfect little honey pot. Oh my god! Hold on. Can we have a spinoff that's just
it's just these guys.
Just them.
Well, and you said no plot is as good as it's is better than its villains. So the villains are important, especially our first villains. These guys might not last all that long. In episode 10 they might both be dead. You know what I mean? But you need to start with your best foot forward. So that when you bring out the secret Sith Lord, they're also fucking awesome.
Chelsea. Codename Chelsea.
Darth Chelsea. Yeah. Join the dark side.
Oh, I love it.
Isn't the campaign actually a spin-off of their show? Yeah, this show. Yeah.
I'm down with doing a little bit of the human for our Utico lady, and then acceptable non-human for our clean guy, in that very Thrawnish sort of individual exceptionalism is a really fun, terrible thing to play with.
A very close, almost human, demi-human, like a
exactly. They're human, but they have their earlobe is a little long, and you're like, ooh, an alien, but not at all. It's the Driss thing I want to kind of play with.
Winged Lioness Bunny in chat is just make them chiss. Just do a chiss.
What is chiss? I don't know what that is. I've seen that word 2 times, and I don't know how to Google things.
It's Thrawn. Thrawn is a chiss, blue skin, red eyes, black hair.
Oh, let's do that then.
I mean, we could. The thing about chiss is that they're from the unknown regions and generally don't associate with the galaxy at large. Thrawn is a huge exception.
Gotcha.
But my immediate thought with a clean, well-spoken individual is there are some options, and feel free to Google them if you don't know what they look like.
I don't.
Aabria.
No, let me open
Google.com.
Google.com.
A Faline is one of the ones that I immediately thought of. Faline are Fleen. They're green humanoids, basically. They've got kind of a green thing going on.
Ooh, that's cute. They're cute. I like that.
Yeah. Or Zeltron. Zeltron would also be good. I'm just trying to think of very human non-humans.
Ooh, a pink person. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
But I like this idea, and like kind of going back to not wanting to be overtly political in the game, but still speak to some of those ideas. I go back to our character gen session for Rime of the Frost Maiden when we kind of like had a little group dunk on the idea of Drist and the Drist fan as a secret and how obnoxious that is, and like the legacy of a character that is so incredibly informed and centered on their like acceptability despite their otherness.
Yeah.
And I would love to play with that as like, this is a person who has curated their entire brand to be the like, yeah, I know the Empire doesn't like non-humans, but everyone extra loves me because I'm the like token and the exception.
No, you know what? Bunny has just sold me on what we're gonna make them. We're gonna make them a Mary Ellen. Mary Ellens are like Lumia is a Mary Ellen in Clone Wars.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the apprentice's name that I can't remember. The one that like pairs up with Ahsoka Tano and like the first
yeah.
They have like they're green and they have like little.
They got the little like
like tattoos. Yeah.
Beat-ups. Yep, those are words I use. I know exactly. Yes, I like that a lot.
Yeah, Mary Ellens are shiny as fuck. Let's do a Mary Ellen.
Done.
Sure. So I imagine the well presenting male character to be a Mary Ellen, who I think Sage has a good idea of like sort of lawyerish, like very like pressed and like suited, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe with
I want like Italian suit in the 60s, like cool boy.
Maybe with like a side cape, you know, like like kind of cool way. That kind of thing. Like where I'm imagining like black sort of slick back hair. You know, like tightly gelled back sort of thing.
Okay, does this cultural reference land for you? Like the 1960s, like Fellini film, Italian, like slick dude in the sort of like tight suit. Like it's a very like glasses sort of blonde cool boy.
I see where you're going with it. Yeah.
Just like, oh God, so cool.
Okay, put a gray streak in the hair, you know?
Yeah, like, just one, and you're like,
just like, oh.
Like just a person that is just built to be incredibly disarming.
Yeah, like and charming, you know? Like they're a salesperson, so to speak.
And well, now can I play him because there's a cape, and I did call. I wanted to.
You can play him. I will give you the clean cut dude. I'll play the rough and tumble human.
You don't have to if you want to play.
No. I'm more than happy to be the vicious gangster. You know, I'm cool.
This is my dream.
So I give him to you as a villain, which means that sometimes you may have to play you and him.
Totally fine.
You know, so you know. He was raised to be charming, not sincere. Yeah.
Oh God, I love it.
Yeah,
we'll just do like a lie to your face, and if he's caught at it, can still convince you that like what he did was just kind of a cute little whoopsie and not like a really weird problem.
What kind of like age range are we thinking for this pair? You know what I mean? Like, are they sort of like? Because my immediate thought is like they're sort of late 40s. You know what I mean?
I like that. Yeah,
like kind of older than your cinematic leadership often is. But I also like the idea of like mercenary, like criminal gangster lady who's lived into her like late 40s. You know what I mean? Like,
so she's around. She's basically like an elder statesman for a criminal mastermind.
She's just done all kinds of terrible things, and she has. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's hit that. He's old enough to be at that like silver fox stage that you're like, why am I more attracted to you now that you're in your 40s?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I like that. This is the kind of person who would have this pair are the kind of people who would have run-ins briefly with like very important canon people in their history. You know what I mean? Like if I were to write it, I would put like Aura Singh comes through here at some point. Or like, they employed Bosk for a job, or they had actual dealings with one of the Moffs from the Council of Grand Moffs, stuff like that. Like these people have survived the Star Wars canon up until this point.
100%. I love them so much. I can't wait to burn them down.
Well, and exactly, we are going to play them to the hilt, and they're gonna die.
Yep.
Almost,
but they will die gloriously because they lived gloriously. Almost, that's the cool thing.
Well, and that's the thing, death and destiny, right? Like, these are important characters. They follow the same rules. It's one of those things where it's like, if they were to die in a circumstance that is not epic, they escape. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, because otherwise it doesn't work. It's not
exactly.
It's not Star Wars if it's not epic.
100%. Okay, but what about her? What's her like looking vibe?
Yeah.
How are we feeling?
Yeah. Also, we need to name this Mirialan male. So chat, get on it.
Yeah, chat, that's your job.
Get on it. I'm terrible at names, so you guys are my name farm for like everything. I'm gonna be asking you names for all kinds of stuff.
Jackspur. No, this is like the dumb thing I do is like mash two names I've heard before together and like, oh, that's bad. You did a bad thing. I'm sorry.
What I usually do is go to Wikipedia and then look at names of canon members of the species so that I can like get something appropriate.
I hear you and I raise you. What Qui Squared mentioned is, what is the hottest cheese name?
No.
Because nope, there's got to be a very subtle reference to the conversation con queso that we've had today in this episode.
I don't know how I feel about this.
We're gonna sneak it in.
Look, oh, Ashy.
Bunny. So sexy, please.
Ashy.
I need to have a problem.
Look, Ashy coming in with that Loken Vix, which is pretty good.
Oh, that's hot.
Or Wazamore has Jander Fulton. This is your character, so I'll cede to you the name of our.
We're gonna do a mashup. I like Jander as a name a lot, and Vix as a name a lot.
Okay, so you want to go for the double mashup?
We're doing Jander Vix.
Jander Vix is pretty good. I like that. So that's the name of our boy. Let me make a character sheet for him so we can fill it in later.
Can I tell you one really stupid thing as you're like generating this character sheet?
Of course.
So speaking of Jander, because my friend's name is Xander. So back in the Rime of the Frostmaiden game, which by the way, if you guys are watching, we have a very, very fun game on Mondays. Please watch that. 1 p.m. Over on D&D's channel, and it's our whole squad all together. So remember how I was obsessed with like the cute dog slutty couple?
Yes.
Yeah, Garrett, and we had to go find Garrett's husband. Yeah. And so apparently for the release of that, my friend Xander played Garrett in this like ARG thing that they were doing during the reveal. So we were talking before another show that we're on together, and he's like, you do rhyme, like, have you met Garrett? Because that's like kind of my character. I'm like, that was the first character my character liked. He gave her cider. And like, we went on this very long tangent, and I just was raving about our game a bunch and how good.
Well, that's great.
I love when stuff matches up. It makes me really happy.
I'm happy to hear it. So we have Jander Vix. I've written I've just literally just created a character sheet here. Let me show you, chat. I've literally just created a character sheet for him under enemies. I should mention that he's a nemesis. Hang on, I gotta edit that.
Ooh, yeah.
Just because like Jander and our other character are gonna be like nemesis level enemies, and nemesis doesn't necessarily mean they're really good at fighting. Because I mean, Jander probably not gonna be your greatest pistol duelist ever. But like high level moths are also like nemesis, and they're not exactly individual combatants either. Like we're talking about just people who have like the power and authority to be a threat to players, basically. Are your nemesis. There we go. All right. Nemesis is up. All right. So what about this? What about this human lady? The love of Jander Vix's life.
What have you thought?
The Utica.
Do you have that? Do you have thoughts?
Okay. Well, my immediate thought is just give me the main characters, the Sarah Connor main character from Terminator Dark Fate, and we're there. We're in it. Like just like this grizzled like veteran combatant, like jaded, like lady who's willing to like shoot your kneecaps off if she has to, kind of attitude.
Yes,
it's like my immediate thought. I'm imagining like, short, sort of like short practical hairstyle, her attire would be like very utilitarian. I'm imagining like most of the time. She's not like a Armani style kind of character. She's more like on the level of her thugs. You know what I mean? Where she wears like the appropriate like sort of like combat capable like jackets and like utility with lots of pockets, that kind of stuff. Is like what I immediately think of. She's the kind of person you wouldn't think is as like high up in the organization as she is.
I love that.
Yeah, like she's got respect from everybody who knows who she is, but like if you don't know, she looks like relatively on the same level as like her street operators, so to speak.
Oh, that's dope.
It's that whole thing where you can walk into like a meeting with her and everybody else is worried and you don't know why you should be worried, but like you should, you know?
Yes, please and thank you.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the vibe I'm getting for her.
Nice. Also, I want everyone to know that's making fan fiction for Jandervix is that he's cast by, like, obviously he's like, oh crap, I already forgot the name of the race. Mirialan. Mirialan. Oh, that's actually very easy to remember.
It's just Mirialan.
Is played by Rahul Kohli.
Rahul Kohli. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's that level of like, yeah.
That is a powerful casting. I like that. I like that. Now I have to think of a name for grim attitude, like
grim attitude.
harsh mistress kind of vibes for this. Bud Princess already got me Zayla Rax, which I like a lot.
Ooh, yes.
Like a lot. I'm definitely gonna take that. I'm taking that right away. Zayla Rax is perfect. You guys already knew I was gonna ask.
And you know what makes me very, very happy is that they have the same cadence to their names.
Yeah, Zayla Rax and Jandervix. Yeah, it's the same.
Ooh.
2-syllable, 1-syllable.
Yeah, exactly. With that, like, shoot, I forgot what the opposite of alliteration is, where it copies the sound, but middle to end of the word, whatever that one is. It's that. And Ashruni, I am on the Discord.
Yeah. Yep.
It's Quiddy on there.
Aabria is often offline on Discord, however.
Yes.
So
yes.
It will not be, Rax and Vix, indeed.
I find Discord personally very stressful because I have ADHD and all the little circles make my brain go to hell. But I am there. It's like accidents. That's it.
I think Zayla does use the fact that other people might not think she's as high up to her advantage. She's the kind of person who like would sit in the cantina without like extra bodyguards and like conduct business as necessary kind of thing. And you're like, oh, this is just some small time person. But then, you happen to have decided to try and rob the like most proficient among them. Or something stupid like that, like.
And it feels like such a good through line between them as a couple because they both like predate on people's like
expectation.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
And I think she probably has the attitude of like, if it can't be done right, do it yourself. You know, like very hands-on kind of boss.
Micromanager boss, like I'll just do it.
Well, yeah. It's like it's one of those like, well, if my thugs are gonna fail, then I'll just go with them. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for me to chill at base when I can just do it myself. Which I think means the players will run into her without knowing they've run into her like once or twice.
That is my jam. And you know what? Another shout out to D&D. That was one of the few things I really, really liked that was seeded in Waterdeep Dragon Heist about Jarlaxle.
Yeah.
This idea that like you probably like he's a disguised boy that just hangs out and you've probably run into him a couple of times in the campaign. I gave him the Brad Pitt from Ocean's 11 tell of like an NPC that was always eating in a corner. Because I really wanted that campaign to be Ocean's 11, but it wasn't.
No.
But yeah, I love that. This is just
There's
all of my favorite little
there is one point in that D&D campaign that just as an aside really bugged me, where it just went, let the players walk around and not find anything for a while, and then eventually just find the thing they need, and there's no real place that it is or logical reason that you could be able to find it. It just, the DM decides.
I can absolutely see the stress in that. My table was so like, we don't care about combat and we're just here to like talk about each other. Like they loved that so much that when I finally was like, and the thing appears, they were like, anyway. So as I was saying, me and my whole family are like this. So I was like, please get back to the plot. We have places to go.
As the person who always tries to drive the plot forward when nothing is happening, it was so frustrating to not be able to follow a lead at all. Like no lead went anywhere. But anyway, that's nothing. That's No,
here's the thing though. Those are all valid because we're talking about other experiences with like games that we've run and conducted, and it helps build a shared frame of reference for like what we do and don't like going into this. So all I'm saying is I can justify a tangent.
Also, Bud Prince and Wing Linus bring up a really great point in that we need to give Zayla a signature weapon.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? She needs her like Lucille style signature weapon. You don't know the reference because you haven't watched Walking Dead, but it's fine.
I'm sorry.
You don't know the you know her
I'm like
her DL-44 Han Solo blaster. You know what I mean? Only gun, the only guy in the whole series who has that gun.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Okay, I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah, we need like something original. You know, like something spicy.
Spicy flex, feel free to say no. How do we feel about making her force sensitive?
Her? I was thinking him, to be honest.
You know what? I mean, maybe they are both for different reasons.
Can you imagine the mind tricks on Jandervix?
That's true. I just like so much of me, like I want him to be able to do it without needing a mind trick though.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, he's just like that charming.
He is like in the same way that we're talking about like our villains here are like super adapted to dangerous environments, that this is as a like an alien in an empire that does not like aliens is super adapted by virtue of his like charisma to be perfect at this thing.
I totally agree. It's that individual exceptionism like working again, right? Like
100%.
Where it's like you have to be awesome, otherwise you're just nothing.
Sorry, what were you saying?
So here's the question. Is Zayla a melee combatant or a ranged combatant? Does she shoot people or does she like lead pipe their knees? You know what I mean? Like,
do we have to pick between the two?
I mean, we don't. She could have like a pistol or, you know, like a shotgun or something. But like my immediate thought is like one of those is going to be more preeminent. You know what I mean?
It's got to be close quarters, right? Because she always throws herself in like the thick of it. She like doesn't sit at the head of the table. She's the one that's in the seedy bar. I feel like she is the most dangerous up close and personal. So why not give her a weapon?
Yeah.
That like
this
fits that vibe.
And this is why I asked, because it's like her unique weapon will be either ranged or melee, depending. She'll have both, but like the unique one will be ranged or melee. And I definitely think melee is good. Okay, here's the next question, because character design is all about just asking questions. Is she a knives kind of person, or is she like a sword level melee kind of person? Like, are we talking,
I would like her to have a laser sword, please.
Are we talking?
I want this so badly.
Wait, are you like lightsaber?
I want her to have a laser sword, please.
You want her to have a laser sword.
Okay, because like we were talking about how like the people at the top are unaffected by Feng Lung, and that there's like an ancient like strain of force users that are here that like have harmonized with it. What if like in like the reason she's here and preeminent and like stays in power is that she didn't do the lie that other people at the top of Unico have done of like not being in the fog. Like she kind of proved herself by being out in it, but like her force sensitivity has allowed her to survive it.
I like this in theory. My only immediate sort of drawback on it is lightsabers are like ultra contraband. You know what I mean? Like,
but if Yutiko has been working with the Empire, then what if it was a gift? What if it was one of those little gifts that was like, here, like for all of your hard service, we got this from like it's a Jedi relic from wherever ago. Put it on your ward, but she can fucking use it.
We're talking about like she's super rich and she's like bought this illegal thing and she's been like using it, kind of.
Yeah,
like
you give a little lightsaber as a treat.
The thing for me is like as soon as we show a lightsaber, the characters are gonna want it, or they're gonna assume things about the character that may or may not be true. I totally love the idea of like I'm cool enough to have one, and I'm not a Jedi. You know what I mean? Like, but then as soon as we do that, we open the door for players to be like, well, where's my lightsaber? And like I want to avoid that as long as I can.
Yeah, that's super fair.
Because lightsabers.
Can we have it? Can we seed it as like maybe like the final battle reveal?
What we'll do is we'll give her something else of a unique melee weapon, and we'll hide the lightsaber.
Yeah,
and then,
I like that.
And then if she really has to, she'll bust it out. And it's like a cool lightsaber in some way. It's got like the cross.
Let's put it on the wall, and that way she never has it with her. And if they ever get into a fight on home territory,
like in her office or something, like
exactly where she has her big fucking sword wall, because bad guys all have that. And then she fucking force pulls the lightsaber and turns it on. That could be such a cool like the music cuts out and you realize that you're dealing with a person who has always been so much more dangerous. Like it's the super selling of that theme of these people who are way more dangerous than you give them credit for.
But Prince, she only uses the lightsaber for executing traitors to Yutiko.
Oh my God. So that's the last thing they see and no one knows that she does it.
It's a ceremonial weapon used only in like private executions.
This is so sexy, and I like them so much. And after
cool.
we kill them off, we'll go back and do like a spin-off where we can have more time with them.
Yeah. So I like Bunny's idea of like some kind of like whip, like vibro whip or something.
Yeah, let's do that.
Or my alternate idea is just like a really, really nice vibro knife, like short, to the point, close range. You know what I mean? Like. The kind of thing where like, oh, the other guy has an axe, I grab his arm, push it up, and stab him in the heart. You know what I mean? Like level of like, it's like the whip is cool, but I'm a big fan of like, I have a dagger and I can use it better than you can use your two-handed whatever the hell.
Yes. You know what I love it. Yeah, what if her entire fighting style is just get in close, almost in this like hug way, and land like usually one exact hit.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're wearing armor, piercing. You know what I mean? Like, through the neck or whatever. Yeah, like I definitely think brutal efficiency is her like call point. It's like, this conversation is over, you're dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that plays to lightsaber, because even if you weren't force sensitive, you could use a lightsaber as an activatable kill you button at close range. It would be super easy to do. You just hold it to them and turn it on, and it'll cut through anything. You know what I mean? Like,
I love this a bunch.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her like some kind of cool knife, I think. I don't know what it is yet, but we're gonna have to draft up the stats for the knife, and she's gonna have some kind of like typical blaster, but like a pistol of some kind.
Sweet.
I think Yutiko generally tends to the melee because you don't want to break atmospheric pressure. You don't want to cause like collapses. You don't want to have that kind of problem. You're not using thermal detonators because you're indoors. You know what I mean? Most of the time. So I think they tend to the melee. Things that I want to develop for Yutiko, and if you're in Discord and you're thinking, hey, I could write some cool Yutiko items, do it, first of all. And second of all, things that I want to make for them. Some special melee weapons, a shield of some kind, that like a riot shield kind of shield that like some of their thugs would use, because the easiest way to trap someone in a corridor is to have shields, because you can't go around them. You know what I mean? If they just like lock in behind you, you're stuck, that kind of stuff.
I love it.
Okay, so we have Zaylorax and Jandervix, the leaders of Yutiko.
I love them so much.
We need a special item for Jander too, though.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know what I was trying to think of.
It
like,
doesn't
what...
have to be a weapon, but it could be something that like increases his, like persuasions or something like that. You know what I mean? Like something like like a perfume or like the cloak or like something that is like unique or special.
Ooh. Yeah, I love playing with like weird sensory things. Like what if like the cloak, if that's going to be the cape, we're doing capes.
Bunny says stabby cufflinks.
I was thinking of like a fungus wood pen. Like he has like a really nice fountain pen that he kind of it becomes his little like whenever I make an analogy that's important to the plot, I pull it out, look at it, and the camera fucking zooms in, so you know that I'm highlighting whatever I'm saying. But I really like this idea of like, what if there's some alternate processing of the fog that he sort of has like specialized, and it's part of his signature like cologne.
Oh yeah,
and it's just a mild sort of pheromone.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
It gets you just get like a little bit of a body high whenever you're in a room with him for a while. So whenever he gets to do negotiations, like yes, he is effective, but like give a little extra Benny.
Like, there's no such thing as too much effectiveness. Yeah,
exactly. And his explanation is like cologne exists to like make you like someone more by making them smell good. I'm just doing that, but more so.
No, I like
What's the problem?
I like that. Yeah. I imagine he probably wears. I imagine he probably wears like some kind of shield generator as well in case of like surprise bullets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What if those are his little cufflinks that you like?
Yeah, it's like cuffs or like his belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, where he's like, oh, this seems to be getting a little.
Like things are about to get hairy. Press button. Someone tries to shoot him with a blaster. It bounces off. Like, yeah, that kind of stuff. That'd be.
But he always travels around with like, I think in very much the opposite of Rax is that he always travels with like a couple like Stimhound.
Yeah,
like,
but
security people.
But his boys are like corporate security. Like they look like they're a little more dressed up.
They're like dressed up. They're like shoot. I can't remember what thing I just saw, which was like a big, thick boy. Oh, I watched the first episode of Lupin on Netflix, and it was like this big, thick, yoked out dude in a suit. And he just looks so uncomfortable the whole time. Yeah. But I love that idea of like that with some like tiny signifier that he is like he's a STEM job. And yeah, so he always like, one of our pair never shows how dangerous she is. Mm-hmm. And then on the opposite side, we have the other who like always walks around as like a signal of
the players. What I want the players to do is look to Gender Vix and be like, that's our villain.
Yeah.
And then not necessarily notice the other villain until later.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Perfect.
For them to be like
the dream.
Like all the public stuff is with Gender Vix because that's the official stuff, And he's not going to tell you to do smuggling runs or anything. He's not the guy for that. But he has lieutenants that could, you know what I mean? He just doesn't want to hear about it, It's like, a pleasure to meet you. I'll let my colleague draw up your contract and I'll go. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
What if the players think the lieutenant that's passing them orders, what if that's Rax?
It could be Rax, yeah.
And she's just like, there's something with this group specifically. Because we always have to do that, like, that fate-touched group. They're always a little different than the other ones. And maybe she's got, like...
It's like she wants to test them
she's like, I've got my eye on them for some reason, so I'll play lieutenant.
I mean, also, she's slightly older, like, human-wise. So it's easy to be like, I've known this person for a while if they're a local. And, like, I think they're ready to, like, be tested.
Yeah.
See if they're ready to join our glorious, like, attempted takeover. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is so good. I love this.
Yeah.
We're going to write a whole campaign book for this. You know that, right?
Oh, I already feel like we have, like, so far.
Write all of this down.
It's so great because I can see so many plot threads with these two where one of them lives and the other one doesn't.
Oh my God, yeah.
And there's so much possible, like, I will chase you across the galaxy like level badness that could happen. Yeah. Which is good. It's like continual plot threads.
Literally, Butt Prince just mentioned that. Like, I love this idea that, like, if Jander dies first, Rax goes on like a fucking killing spree. If Rax dies first, Jander goes like, I will turn the entire galaxy against you, and you will always be hunted.
A reminder to our dear players. these are our wonderful not our players, our dear chat. These are our wonderful villains. They will not last the whole campaign. Villains are never meant to. But what we want you to do is say, no, they died because they were so cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just be like, beans.
That's what we're trying to.
I enjoyed them.
We're trying to accomplish. So
too late reading for them. I mean, you gotta, right?
So we have Zalairax and Gendervix. What I'll do is I'll look at some Nemesis examples in the book. Actually, let me pull that up now, just because I can't think of anything that I want to immediately pivot into after that.
There's gonna be a day, and I don't know when it's gonna be, where I'm gonna call you and be like, it's happening. The table they're gonna kill are sweet babies. It's all over.
Yeah.
So please go grab an adult beverage of your choice, and we're just gonna film a bunch of really dumb content and release it as like the secret Rax and Vix tapes.
But like for instance, here in the back of the book we have the stats for a pirate captain who is like a nemesis, you know, and like everything that they have, their stats, like their abilities, so forth. What I did with our original boy here, the Utica Stimhound, was I took one of the stat blocks from the book and then I just edited a couple of things to like make them more the Stimhound than anything else. So my basic plan would be like find something that aligns generally with what I want and then edit it slightly. For instance, Master Bounty Hunter is also a possible nemesis here in the book. This guy here. But then like for Jander, what I do is go to like, you know, what stats does an Imperial intelligence agent have or something, and then like go from there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think the stats will be the easiest thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Which is why I wanted to focus on the other stuff, because the stats I can do off screen. It's like very easy for me to just be like, I'll take 20 minutes to input all of this stuff that I think will work. But mostly like this stream in general, it's like, well, what does this have to do with like prepping on Roll20 or whatever? It's more of like, how do GMs think and what do we find important at this point?
Exactly.
But as we go, it will be more, how do we want to prep on Roll20?
Yeah, especially like when you're in the mid game where you're like, okay, here's what I think they're gonna do tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's gonna how the game goes.
when we're prepping for tomorrow's the next episode, like what do we think is gonna happen? That's the
But right now, the thing we're doing that is just, for me, so much of my favorite part of GMing is just that initial ideation of like what could be. And here are a couple like points of light in the sort of night sky that we can build constellations of like narrative.
Speaking of constellations of narrative, every good Star Wars story has a bar.
It is known.
We need a cantina. We need like the Vode spaceport meeting area. You know what I mean? Like and then we get to talk about like how grimy is it? You know what I mean? Like, or is it like kind of classy, you know, or like this kind of stuff. And there were some examples in the Discord. Someone wrote a cantina like owner and their bar in the Discord. I would have to scroll back up because I think it's quite a ways, because we've had a lot of chatter in the Discord.
Yeah, everyone, good job. More, please.
And yeah, feel free to join it, obviously, and
jump in, throw in a bunch of stuff. Like this last week has been very, very wild for me in ways that NDAs will not allow me to elaborate upon very much. But like I have been watching it, and I'm very excited to like jump in and like talk about it. I think there has to be a tourist trap cantina somewhere, because we talked about that sort of like danger tourism, like this sort of side economy. So like what if someone inside like a giant hollowed out mushroom that's like pretend dive bar-y and feels dangerous but like isn't, and sells whatever space PBR is, and like just feels grimy and seedy, but like it's totally legit. And then there's like the real cantina.
I'm looking for the cantina in the Discord because I wanted to like use some chat examples.
You're good.
But
Keep looking.
I found
here.
a different NPC that I forgot existed that Bud Prince made called Mongum the Handy Ham.
I love this boy.
The line is, no job too small for Mongum the Handy Ham. Are you tired of Yutiko's ham-fisted approach to maintenance? Mongum is here to lend you a hammy hand for an affordable price.
Oh my God, this good sweet bean.
Look at him. He's so cool. He's got a cup
with
that
the
says
big love. The big love walrus.
Big love.
Oh, okay. Well, Mongum is definitely here.
Here we go.
And is gruff but lovable.
I found Juniper 138, Madame Hirani, who is a Twi'lek owner of a house of pleasures that caters to the Yutiko high-ups.
Don't you dare threaten me with a Twi'lek. Let's go!
And wealthy tourists, you know. She'd like to learn more about the New Republic, but is doubtful they care about a whorehouse in the outer reaches. Madame Hirani can provide information about high-profile NPCs to the party. If they find a way to gain her favor, she may even arrange an introduction with a person of interest. If the party gets on her good side, getting on her bad side, however, could lead to bounty hunters at your doorstep. Madame is not against hiring muscle or even killers if need be. She plays up the danger tourism aspect of the planet, especially the Jedi henge site. But if you're in her confidence, she'll admit that she thinks Jedi were more religious cult than actual space wizards.
Oh my God. Okay, so this 100%, yes. And in the Hirani, like in the discussion around Hirani, I think the obvious thing, and oh boy, Star Wars is space cowboys.
Yeah.
But what if we eschew the sort of madam that owns the watering hole in the middle of the one horse town and go with, have you seen Mission Impossible Fallout?
Not that I remember. All the Mission Impossible movies just blend into.
They are all they're a mono movie, 100%. There's a character named, I think she's the White Widow, where she's very much like a broker between like high level bad guys, like selling, people and uranium ores and
the bad stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like her to be like a sort of broker level instead of like, I don't know, like the snarky madam, which is a fun trope, but like
you're thinking
like one step away.
Someone with many connections, right?
Exactly.
And like even here it says like she used to sell information about her clients to the Empire for like protection, basically.
Heck yeah.
But that she's like sort of realized that maybe now the Empire is gone, that there are better options, which I think in our narrative would make her like almost a Yutiko employee, like
100%.
Because Yutiko is like rising. She would be like, well, rise with the tide of the place I live,
Yes.
And like maybe she's the one who makes introductions to like Imperial Remnant contacts or whatever for Jander, or that kind of stuff.
I love it. I love it so much.
So yeah, she's the owner of a house of pleasures, which I assume is drug consumption and brothel activity.
You gotta do a little opium den with your brothel, or what are you?
No, and I agree.
But still in that, like this, I want this to be the one that isn't like the real opium den where people are just like posted up and terrible. It's still like the touristy one of like, oh my God, Ted,
it says from Juniper's description of Hirani that it's high class rather than low class.
Oh my God, I'm gonna do it.
It's the danger tourism. It's the danger tourism, right?
Take a picture when I pass out. This is great.
I imagine her security for the place is Yutiko and top notch.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like
Hundo P.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then, I like this idea that clearly tied to Yutiko, maybe not like a formal employee thing, but like no one really knows how like deeply tied they are or what her relationship is with.
I'm gonna add a character sheet for her because I think we want her. From what we're saying. And again, we'll come back to the stats later because I can do that like on my own very easily. But we'll add that, and we should talk about the House of Pleasures itself and who else maybe is there.
Hundo P.
Just because having one or two, like, there's always like that one guy in a cloak in the corner. You know what I mean? Like, what's his deal?
Yeah.
It's Dressor.
You mean the plot hook guy in the corner that no one in the party wants to talk to? Yeah.
I'm gonna put her at Nemesis level as well, just because I think she has the
TFZ knows what's up.
She has the potential to be.
Yay! Oh, and Mongum is there too. We love it.
We'll put Mongum in there. Totally. Yeah, we'll put Mongum in there. Hang on, let me add Mongum. Hang on, I'm doing it. I realize that I'm probably not showing you that I'm doing. Oh no, I am. Good. Okay.
No, you're good as you do it. Extra special carbon. I actually was thinking about like fillery when I was talking about Jander's perfume of just like he comes in with a little Atmo that you get high on. But no, you don't get high on the atmosphere here because you have to pay for that shit.
But Prince, can I use the art you put in Discord for the Mongum character sheet? Can I put Mongum art?
Oh yeah, please. Can we borrow?
I just want your permission to use your art before I steal it. Mongum. We'll make him rival.
And Zed, it does totally sound like someone saying gender a little. The two
Janders.
Gender is a construct, like clout and time.
Like clout and time. I'm gonna put in. Yay. You know what? I'm just gonna take the Discord message from Butt Prince about Mongum and copy paste it into the notes about Mongum, because there really is nothing else that I need. I don't think. Although the colors are completely off.
Yeah. Oh man, I love Vode so much. Yeah, we didn't do it this week.
There we go.
But we'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, we'll be back on Monday. Okay, we've got Mongum also in there.
I just want to say that I think this is also the thing that's part of how do you make the party, make the table care about a location. When you care about something, we have built in NPCs and locations and villains that are so like full and vital and like kind of brimming with potential that like that is very much infectious. This is a thing I've learned. I was looking at or read some interview about like Patrick Rothfuss talking about like writing and the idea of like as the author, like write about the thing that you care about, and even if it's not what you think your audience likes, like that infectious like love of this thing and the enthusiasm in like sharing it will rub off on the audience. It's like it's the idea that oh my god, this is the worst. Like Tolkien loved languages, so he like did a bunch of language things, and now everyone's like, oh, what a fun geeky thing that just always existed, which really didn't before him. And Rothfuss loves money and like economies, so there's like a lot of like coins and like monetary like exchange stuff in the Kingkiller Chronicles. And like I didn't care about coinage before I started reading, but like the preciousness with which an author like holds something passes on to the consumer of that. And I think if we are wondering like how to keep a table invested in Vode, I think our level of investment, all of us together as we build it, is the thing that will like rub off on the players and keep them there.
But I also think like to a certain degree, like we're not going to keep them on Vode forever, obviously. Like Vode it's a jumping off point. But also like our investment in our Star Wars narrative being a Star Wars narrative and not being a different kind of sci-fi or like a tonally inconsistent, like kind of story. Like I think that is like a huge part of it as well, right? Like when it feels like the thing you're trying to emulate. Yeah. I think it's like really reasonably important, Not that I'm saying you shouldn't deviate, because you can and should to shake it up. But Star Wars works best in the space that it already exists in. I think mostly. And the other thing about Star Wars is that you can pull the same inspiration that Star Wars does from the things that Star Wars pulls inspiration from. World War II, like Kurosawa movies, and samurai in general, and cowboys are all like the big Star Wars influences.
And cowboys are just samurai movies. Like
that's what I mean. It's the same.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And I love even moments where Star Wars has like said that very bluntly. My favorite episode of The Mandalorian was just like a samurai sword fight and a simultaneous with like a high noon standoff in the front. And I was like,
I mean,
oh my God, we are just doing it right now, aren't we?
You know they're calling to it literally when they have an episode that's literally just seven samurai like defending a village. They can't 100%. Defend themselves, like, you know.
It's so good.
Yeah. So it's a whole thing. And hi, people who are rated. Welcome.
Hello. Ooh, here's a good question. Are there any anti-Unico forces or contacts on Vode the characters can meet?
I definitely think there must be, right? Like no faction exists as a monolith. And in fact, we have a couple of probably anti-Unico possible Discord options if we wanted to draw from them. We have someone who wrote in a character that like owns a pulp and paper mill to do with the like mushroom plants, you know what I mean?
For sure.
And they're haven't sold out to Unico, and that really frustrates Unico, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause they want to own like the planet as a monolith kind of thing. So like that kind of stuff might be worth sort of adding to it. We also have this like mercenary company, the Red Fog Raiders, that Bud Prince threw in there that I showed you the art of like really early on.
Yeah. I'm like still staring at it.
The droid contact, we could put them in the House of Pleasures. An M3PO military protocol droid called Squeaker.
Squeaker.
Yeah. Ooh. He's called Squeaker because he's frequently heard speaking to his Gamorrean cohorts in their porcine mother tongue. So he like does the like pig noises, you know.
Oh, buddy.
Little droid that speaks pig. And he's their sort of like contact point and negotiator because Gamorreans aren't known for their negotiatory abilities. They're very like we are the strongest or we are weaker than you. Kind of group. That's the whole Jabba's palace deal was like Jabba tricked some Gamorreans with like some kind of trick. I can't remember what the story was, but it was like, we won't work for you if you can't beat us in a fight. And Jabba was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll beat 5 of you at once. And then just like somehow like he had like other people shoot them or something or like trick them or and like then they just like their whole clan like swore to him. You know
Dunk, just a little Gordian knot problem.
Just like the strongest boy. You know?
Yay, strong boy.
Yeah. What kind of droid was that? M3PO. They are military protocol droid.
The M stands for cape.
The M stands for military, actually, Aabria. Rather than C3PO, which would be civilian protocol droid.
I think I said what I said. The M stands for cape instead of the C that stands for civilian.
An actual mouse droid would be the best. But, you know.
McCape.
You can ask Siobhan, my partner, every time because we watched through all the Star Wars movies recently. And every time a mouse droid was on screen, I went, mouse droid! Because they're so fucking cool. They're literally programmed to be GPS for the Death Star or like big capital ships. So like if the stormtroopers need to get from like somewhere to somewhere else and all the hallways look the same, a mouse droid will go at the front of the column of stormtroopers and they will just follow it and it'll lead them to where they need to go. That's what the mouse droids are for.
Is it weird that I need one every day of my life for normal stuff?
Just to like guide you places. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Just like, what am I? I'm just going to follow this. Yeah. I'm going to follow this guy. I think he knows where I'm trying to be right now.
Yeah. Just like
that a lot.
When you take a starship that's just white corridors for fucking miles in every direction.
Right? That's so good.
You need GPS.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's gotta be a plot of that. I want a plot where you hack the mouse droid to be able to avoid all the troopers. If that doesn't happen, then we have not built a game that allows you to find unique and sort of surprising, silly and surprising vectors for success. Like, that's great.
Mouse droids are tourist guide Roombas. Yeah.
Oh my God. They have to do the little like the like tour group, like a little flag, and they have their little group and they like get you where you need to be.
Like repurposed mouse droids, like
Yep.
reprogrammed. Yeah. Oh man.
Well, that's happening a ton.
I
And
like
there's
that.
got to be a little cute one that loves just explaining. Like, does anyone have any questions? This hallway is a reproduction of an actual hallway.
Mouse
droids redacted.
Mouse droids don't speak. Come on. They just they just make that little squeaky noise and run away
squeaking
when Wookiees yell at them. You could have a hologram recording tour guide. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Up from the mouse droid, yeah.
That's very good.
What else do we need? We've got kind of like a general vibe on a pleasure house with like a couple of people in it. We got Madame Harani and Mongum who hang out there. I'm thinking of putting M3PO in there as well, just to like have potential contact for the Red Fog.
I'm sorry, I have one more very bad idea for this mouse droid that I've now mapped a lot of personal feelings onto.
Okay, I feel you. Yeah.
What if the mouse droid has a bit of a Bumblebee from the Transformers movie struggle of like they have a bunch of like pre-recorded like little droid or a little like tour guide segments to like play, but if they need to answer a question, they have to like mash up a bunch of things to get the exact word order out that they need to like answer questions that are not covered by like video 186 from this like prefabricated tour guide. Yeah, Sage, this is 100% of this is what was promised at the beginning. I'm like, I don't know Star Wars. I just know what I like. Is this anything? No. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about our expectations like at the beginning and our general knowledge when I'm like, this is how it works. And then, yeah, you're like, but what if it works like this? And I'm like, it could, I guess, you know, like.
It's just you begrudgingly accepting that I am full of weird, bad ideas.
Yeah, the other possible option for like anti-Utico forces, going back to our like previous thought pattern. I know I'm jumping around. But like I think what Klume says is like potentially interesting, like the idea of like there are people who work for Utico who are like unionized, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like they're not gang thugs, they're just like lumberjacks or like workers or whatever, and they like maybe don't like the direction the company is taking.
Yeah, they're like, I came here to get a good honest living in a foggy drug hellhole, cutting down mushrooms, and now there's something about a criminal underbelly. Yeah, just a bit too naive and I like that a lot.
They're like imported from off-world like manual labor workers who are all in like a union.
What if there's like a stint that you can do here? Like how long you can like reasonably be insured to stay. You'll be able to make a ton of money because it's like super dangerous work, like being an actual lumberjack is.
Yeah.
And you kind of go on like a tour of duty. So you see a little bit, and maybe they say that like half of the reason they say you can only stay on world for like 6 months at a time is for your personal health, but it's also Utico's way of making sure no one has enough opportunity.
There long enough to organize. Yeah.
To organize or to see what's going on and start to clue together to like the wider nature of what's going down.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Heck yeah. So now we're building like connective tissue to things off world that our party can get to that can help sort of elucidate what's happening.
Whatever this like union of workers is like an off-planet organization that's like for the region or something.
Yeah. And maybe the union leader has like that full like the yarn board of putting it together that they're like figuring out what's actually happening based off of like the rounds of tours that the union workers are putting together, and they're like, I think I've got it figured out.
But for instance, they plan to have Mongum be an ex-labor organizer, by the way. So we could hook Mongum into like they're currently on their stint or whatever, and they're there.
Yeah. This is fun. I mean,
we've blown through like 2.5 hours already, almost of our time, like just coming up with stuff. I love it.
It's so good. I just like thinking and going like, hey everybody, this is something now maybe. So good.
I like having a list of things that I can then like do the boring parts of like later on, where I can just mechanically be like, here's some stats for these guys, assign these things, and that's nice. The creative part is always the part where I feel like I need to talk more. You know what I mean? And like come up with stuff. So it's good.
Don't worry. I will always be here to fill the silence with my droning asks.
I am a big fan of Jander Vix and Sailor Rex, the two head honchos that we made for Utico.
They're so good. I think the last thing I want to like definitely jump in with and talk about is when we talk about like the party's ability to get off world and do stuff off world. Yeah. Like I am personally leaning toward, and obviously I don't have like strong opinions, so like up for debate, up for discussion, that like this group can leave whenever they want. But I think there is something that's a lot like the like luxury item that is this mushroom wood that like is just a little too appealing to ever really stop working on Vode,
like it's
and like go find work somewhere else. Like it's always there, it's always consistent.
Like it's one of those things where it's like this place has value to the galaxy right now, and if you want to go to Tatooine, I mean we can, but
you can try to scrape something up.
But like it's a desert, There's no money to be made there. You know what I mean? Like it is an empty wasteland of a place. Like here at least there's conflict happening. And like a rising star is like in Utico is like coming up, and there's this possibility of Utico like being like the area warlords if things go really well for them. You know what I mean? If Jander and Zayla survive for longer than we're expecting, and or like one of them dies and the other one gets super motivated, then like there's a possibility of making them sort of like a local Outer Rim villain, you know what I mean? Like more than just like a Vodian problem.
Exactly. And so I think starting off, so in this sort of like character study, let's talk about that. When we talk about character arcs, we talk about like across any given scene or an arc in general, you start at one place and you need to be motivated to end somewhere else. And I think starting the party from a place of sort of like, it's routine, it's easy and consistent. So like Vode is a place that is a safe and stable way to get consistent work. So you can leave whenever you want, but why would you yet? And that gives like a really good place for us to start as far as like where our story goes, as they are sort of presented for the first time with reasons to move through and either dig in or try to pull out and away from.
I think one of my initial questions as a GM is like, what are we gonna do for their like first mission, their first quest? Like, how are we gonna hook them in? Because like we can build a world for them to play in, but if we don't know what their play is gonna look like, then it can get a little dicey, right? So it's like we have this like nice planet they can do stuff on. Like, what's the first hook? You know what I mean? Like, is it like somebody's a local and they worked with Utico before, and Utico says like we need to get money from X person who hasn't paid or whatever, and if you do, we'll pay you 50% or whatever it is. Like, are we doing that kind of stuff, or are we doing like, here you go, there's a tour that can take you to some spooky forest ruins. You want to go there? You know what I mean? Like, and then kind of offer that to them. That always seems like a bit of an optional one to me, but like I want something that will set the scene in a way that will make them ask some questions, you know what I mean? But like not be immediately challenging to their morals,
Yeah. How about they are, I don't remember if we have a name for our sort of house of pleasure yet.
Well, I mean, right now it's just Madame Harani's house of pleasure.
Okay. Harani's International House of Pleasure. It's Hop.
Hop.
So our party is at Hop, and Harani passes them like a bit of a gimme. Just like, this is someone slid me this mission. I like you all. You keep your noses down and your tabs are all clear. It looks like some danger tourism. like squad got lost on the way to the Force ruins. Like they went off path, and the family is offering like a big bounty for their safe return.
Yeah, like
before they get fung lung. Do you want this? It's a bunch of easy credits, and you just have to go find lost rich idiots in the woods. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Don't say I never did anything for you.
It's stuff like that, definitely.
Yeah. So we start off with just a little like the tutorial level, like meet the world.
Because you
Here's
also
something
know
that has
because you also know they're gonna be still meeting their own characters. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like they gotta like work into it, sort of thing.
It allows them all to spend time with each other and not necessarily be challenged by the problem in front of them yet. And then it's always good to like lead in with a little bit of levity, because then like the first meaningful NPC they meet, which is probably like this, like the little rich kids that got like lost, are gonna be kind of goobs. And now we're setting up a dynamic of like our party is fundamentally cool and like is well indoctrinated into this society that is probably shady, but they haven't done anything shady yet, and thus aren't challenged on a moral level.
Yeah.
Which is getting everyone like, it's like when you first get into a bath, you gotta put a little toe in,
just get
used to what you're feeling.
Everybody like situated in the zone. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is what you want to do, because like you don't want to immediately be like, are you okay with like extorting people? You know what I mean? Like, in the first mission, because they don't know yet.
Yeah, and if someone gets really spicy and is like, why don't we hold them hostage and want to do more? And you're like, I mean, that was always on the table, but I wasn't going to suggest it.
You can go for that, yeah. And the great thing about that is, like, if people make suggestions like that, I'm able to just, like, adapt and create situations, like, because there's no definite end or thread, because we're writing it ourselves, right, week to week. What I'm really looking forward to, and I know this is a little bit into the future, but what I'm really looking forward to is I can't write people's obligations till I know what they are. So when the characters make their characters in that first session, that Thursday leading into session 1 rather than session 0, oh my God, we're gonna be writing obligations. We're gonna be talking about like this character has like this thing and they're tied into this, and it's gonna be a lot of stuff. Actually, Zarask made an NPC tourist guide for the Force ruins.
Love it.
They were the first NPC suggestion posted in the entire Discord.
Dope.
Yep.
Nailed it.
Zara Kelshir, a Miraluka. Miralukas are like, they have a veil over their eyes. They're blind, but they're Force sensitive. They see.
I know what they are.
Yeah. I think we can definitely work Zara Kelshirian as a guide for that first mission, maybe. That
feels very, very
That sounds good. First NPC, first mission. I kind of like it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, I like this idea of like they were going to go to the touristy fake ruins, but for some reason they like fell through a hole or something. Like
and either stumbled on it, or what if someone in the group actually was Force sensitive and is in the midst of having like an ayahuasca freak out Force awakening in the real ruins.
And then you're like, what do you do about it? Do you shoot them? You know what I mean?
It's such a weird quandary of like, what do you do with that like kid in the corner that got too hot and is yelling that they understand that the Force is in you? What do you mean it's in me?
They're reading the writing on the walls that nobody has read for generations. You know? Yeah.
What a cool way to recontextualize, like, because the rest of the Star Wars like canon loves and reveres Jedi so much, like what a fun way to recontextualize like this sort of
and a lot of
thing to be like, ew, what's wrong with you?
But also like culturally, a lot of the Imperial propaganda around Jedi, like during the time of the like height of the Empire, was like Jedi are elitist and dangerous. You know what I mean? Jedi are they are an unknowable force. Like they are, you know, it was some like X-Men mutant shit, you know, where they're like, these guys are too powerful to be let to do what they want because they're super dangerous. Was like the advertising from the Empire. So like the general view of people like during that time may be more like the Jedi are dangerous. you know? Like actual Jedi, like going on this little tourist run, like whatever, but like meeting someone who is actually capable of pushing us all across the room with like a mere gesture, you know, like that's that is a problem.
Yeah, to go from to have the rest of this like rich tour group at the NPCs going from sort of like derision to and contempt to like fear is such a good, like, this is what the world thinks of the thing that you think of when you first think of Star Wars, which is Jedi. And this is how the world thinks about it now. So not only are we spending time learning about like the players, the PCs, and the things that they care about, but we are learning the new context of like the Empire and the galaxy through the lens of like the NPCs' reactions to this like
and I mean
thing.
It is like the galaxy is coming out of a fascist regime, you know what I mean? Like propaganda and like media in general is going to be like imperially interest focused, right?
Yeah.
Not that everybody believes it. You see a lot of stuff in the Outer Rim where they're like stormtroopers, like they could do anything here. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of that.
A lot of like, I wish a dude in a very loud suit came here and tried to shoot me.
Yeah.
I wish he would.
I fucking wish he would. Yeah.
Yeah. Try me. You look like a tic tac.
You see it.
A tactical tic tac is not gonna kill me.
You see a lot of that in like the movies and stuff. And there's a reason that the Outer Rim is like mostly run by crime families and like
100%.
Generally the authority is like a little weird out there. But even more so now when the Empire's like crumbled to nothing and the New Republic is trying to go like, we're legitimate. We're totally legitimate, guys. You know, like
this is great because I also watched the entire Godfather series over the weekend.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, oh, this is 100% it. Like crime families and all these syndicates pop up where like time and attention on a macro scale like fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
So like, God, it just feels so good. I'm so happy right now.
Because if a society doesn't have like a powerful force, one will rise to take that place.
Nature
eventually.
abhors a vacuum.
Yeah.
And like society is so deeply natural.
I look forward to the, like, you know, selfishly as a GM, I look forward to the crime family on crime family possible action when we get when we get like the Hutts involved or like Black Sun or like some of the like more canon, like established Star Wars crime families, you know, that exist. The Zan Syndicate or something. Like I
want it all.
There's a lot of good stuff out there that could be potentially very interesting for our world, you know. Because we're thinking about the world in a vacuum without the players currently. In like what would happen if the players weren't around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the current response is Utica would grow big enough that they had influence elsewhere as well. Like, and that their value continue to rise rather than be stymied by the efforts of our players, perhaps.
100%. Oh man. Have you watched Westworld, like the TV show?
I've watched the first season.
I love thinking about DMing in this sort of like Westworld, like narrative fashion of like, assume all of the NPCs have these like pre-written routes that they will go on if the players never intercede.
Well,
and then like, that's the thing what we're talking about that we're building right now. And then at every point, like where the PCs make contact, they like fundamentally like change and shift the narrative. And then things that they never interact with that we've thought a bunch about, but they were just like, no, thank you for this plot hook, continue sort of happening in the background and doing stuff to the world.
The GM stream that week, we go like, well, they didn't really touch that, so we'll just move it on to stage 2. You know what I mean?
Exactly. 100%.
And I love that we're going to be doing this again. I'm just repeating myself a little bit, but I love that we're going to be doing this weekly because it feels like we'll be taking like a world turn. You know what I mean? Like, where we go like, okay, so like the players are doing this right now. What is happening like around them?
Yeah.
Where are people like situated and what is going on and who is like witness to what they're doing and, you know, like whatever else. Like there's a lot of like, okay, so this week they shot 3 Utico guys in a hallway. Like, how does that translate to, you know, our future interactions with them regarding the gang? Does anybody even know? You know what I mean? Like, like that kind of stuff. Like I'm really looking forward to being able to ask those questions, you know. But right now I think we have a pretty good layout for some specific NPCs, sort of like a first quest, which I think I'm going to follow through on in terms of like, Madame Harani will like hook them up with like the easy job, you know.
Yep.
because someone will be local. Like one PC at least, I think will be local, and then it'll be easy to be like, oh, you're back from wherever. If you're getting yourself situated again, here you go. Like
exactly, and it establishes Hirani as like their first like friendly NPC that they're like, oh, you didn't send me out on something that like got us killed or screwed us over. So
they're just a Twi'lek who wants to help them make money while she makes her cut. Obviously,
exactly.
And then we have to think about like, because the thing you're saying is true. Like vote is where the action is. But we have to think about, like, what the action is. You know what I mean? Because, like, obviously fog smuggling is, like, a big thing. Like, getting the fog off-world and to the places it needs to go where they can be traded for credits or whatever. Or even, like, to the right landing pad, you know what I mean? So that it can be exported by, you know, quote-unquote suspicious individuals. Is kind of like a thing. But then, like, what other work on vote is available? Like there's stuff that's like very infrastructure building where it's like, well, we're trying to like gain a power base, so we need to like muscle this guy out, or we're trying to, you know, like seize this particular territory and there's like a swoop gang that lives there that really bothers us, and if you could just clear them out, that would be great. Kind of stuff. And then the players get to decide if they're gonna like shoot first or if they're gonna like talk to people, or you know, like what the deal is. Like a series of small missions to start that change the overall effectiveness of Utico as it goes along, I think is what we want, right?
1,000%.
Where it's like, you could not kill the swoop gang and tell them to like go somewhere else, but then like be around when we want to take this place back and you get double territory and like we get a part of it or whatever, you know? Or you could just exterminate them and Utico moves in, kind of thing. Like, just kind of stuff. These are very basic options, obviously. I'm just like off top of my head, like rambling.
I love this. 100%.
I like that there may be some New Republic entanglements in terms of like interest via the fog with the Imperials and so forth, you know. And that like those two elements are interested in Vode for separate reasons, because those are the big boys in the galaxy, right? Like the New Republic and the Imperial Remnant are still the big boys. Like they and if vote is important and vote is valuable, they will both be trying to get it, basically.
Exactly.
Like, in their way. Whether that's like Utico is now officially aligned with the New Republic. And
I think
there is a deal with the devil that takes place, you know, and it's like, well, the New Republic won't bother you anymore, but you can't sell to the Empire, or you know, like something like that, or whatever. Like there's a lot of options. But the two big players have to be involved in some way, I think.
1,000%. I think it is definitely like a dipolar system with Utico attempting to establish itself as like a third pole of like strong in its own right and sort of above having to choose sides.
They want to be independent. Yeah. But I think that is very dangerous, you know?
Exactly. So I think they are, when we talk about the sort of importance of a title, when we talk about, this is called a desperate gamble. And I think that happens on like several levels. And I think the desperate gamble that our players will be like dealing with is something that like we'll all build and discover organically at the table.
Yeah.
But the one that we can build as GMs is like, Utico is doing something real ambitious. This is a like you pull it off or you are wiped off the map.
I'm imagining some sick like pie in the sky dreams. I'm imagining some sick like long negotiatory table action where they like shoot the leaders of another crime syndicate and like absorb them, you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Like this kind of like action like late on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's my brain is a little fried from our creative endeavors today.
No worries. We can like power this shit down now.
Well, but we're getting close to the end anyway. So
I like this idea. I think like because like when we were talking about the difference between like our planning styles, mine is very like top down, like broad strokes, and like how do we like put like establish and then push a theme out. That I really like the idea that since we focus so much on Vode and our like central villains, that like our central villains also have their desperate gamble.
They're doing their story is part of it.
Yeah, that like at some point like, and this really is centered on Zayla Rax, that she decided that like Yutiko had no choice but to swing big or like be absorbed by some other bigger power forever. So she's trying to either like establish or perish. Like you have the publish or perish.
Well, it's the whole like nature abhors a vacuum, and the Imperial Remnant, the Empire has been destroyed. The Imperial Remnant is struggling. Now is the time to move up. If you don't do it now, somebody else will. Kind of thing.
Exactly. Like, and knowing that whoever comes up in that next thing will not allow them to be like their own separate little thing in a corner. Like they will be absorbed unless they become too big to fail.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this is the general trajectory of our first round, our first level of villain.
I love the idea that we are building a world that will move with or without the players.
Exactly.
I love because one of the things that frustrates me the most about some of the D&D stuff that we've done is that if the players spend 8 days fucking around, nothing changes. Like the triggers are based on like the player's movement triggers action rather than like there is a universe that has its own desires and characters within it who are making plays of their own that will change depending on player priority.
Exactly.
Right? So like obviously the players are the central characters of the story because that's just like unavoidable, right? Like the players are the main characters. That's the way that role-playing games work basically. But I hate the idea that every other character in the galaxy is neglected. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I think there's a lot of space for, like, villainous monologues and stuff like that. And it's like, how are the PCs unavoidably in the way of the baddies' plans? Currently, they're not. But they might choose to be if they realize the evil that is happening around them.
That's the thing. Like, when we talk about our main characters self-identify as heroic, then at some point they're going to have to realize that they have to interpose themselves in front of the baddies and make themselves known and stand up against them.
And I mean,
against this thing that will move with or without them.
And I mean, we'll drop hints, as much as we can of like, Yutiko's not great. Like, easiest way to do that is have a couple of their thugs like beating someone up on the street while they walk by, you know what I mean, or whatever, like these kinds of things where it's like they're not a good group, but they are neutral to you currently. How do you feel about that? You know what I mean? Like kind of stuff.
That was useful for a time, but it can no longer persist. Like that is the sort of like lazy inertia that we enter into the group on, and then they are jolted from that reverie. Like the sort of call to adventure is one of the realization that like new ambitious things are happening.
Well, and
you cannot remain purely neutral about it.
And chat makes a really interesting one. Like, and the fog is bad for you. You know what I mean? Like the processed fog is horrible for your health. It's not gonna, if you're taking combat stims, like the withdrawal from that is going to be crazy bad, like huddled in a corner shaking and crying and sweating bad, you know what I mean? Like it's just not a good thing to be out there. It's not healthy, it's not beneficial to the galaxy. It is a bad substance.
Exactly.
So like they are innately an evil faction, like just based on like their value is in this horrible stuff, that helps people kill other people.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And
it's
then,
not even a pleasure drug.
And then it kills them slowly when they can't take more.
Yep.
You know? It's
I love it.
Yeah, it's great, But it is valuable, and credits are not. You know what I mean? Like, the imperial currency is devalued because the empire is not here. So the fog is it's a currency they can buy guns with. It's a currency they can buy armor with. It's a currency they can trade to the Empire for starships. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, because the Empire is much smaller, but they still have stock. Like, if you don't have the guys to pilot all your Star Destroyers, why not sell one for combat drugs? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Ooh. That's sort of the plan. That's sort of
such a good vibe.
Sort of the thought process. The process is don't tell the players these are your villains at the beginning, but let them learn that these are their villains if they want to. Or if they pivot and they're like, we are a crime gang family now, and they work, side by side with Zalarak's kicking people's asses. Then we get to see the rise of this criminal organization.
I think that's just as fun of a story.
Exactly. In combat with like the New Republic and the local like security forces as they like grow to fucking immense power and eventually have to deal with the consequences of like being evil. There's a lot of
But
good.
Prince Jander will look like a good guy at first.
That's the hope.
I promise you're gonna like him for too long. That's the goal.
The goal is for you to like him right up until you say something you shouldn't, and then
you like him, and then you're worried about him, and then you realize that the thing, like, what's the stupid line that like the greatest con the devil ever pulled was convincing you he didn't exist.
Yeah.
And like Jander's ability to convince you that he is not only not a threat, but probably in trouble because maybe everything is like what if he doesn't know that it's bad guys are going to save you from it? You're what's happening?
He's so in over his head. Why is he snapping his fingers and his thugs are kicking my ass?
What if you come in and you're like, I'm going to save Jander, and you're like, oh my God, I have to save a hoe. Let's go.
Yeah.
Xander is 100% Zayla and Jander's ship name, and we love it.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? I don't think I have anything better that I can say this week. I feel like we came up with some really good shit, and I am excited for next week. I'm not even sure what we'll do, but we will. I think next week will be some NPC statting, some talking about the moving parts of the system, as well as maybe the moving parts of where we want our threat levels to like begin.
That feels good.
And then kind of like talk about maybe some smaller factions or smaller locations in Vode or on Vode that if the players are like, we really don't like Utica, we don't really want to work for them or like do anything with them, then like, Mongum's there to like hook you up with some like union job or like Hirani's jobs are X, Y, and Z that you can do that have nothing to do with Utica. Or there's like the Force guide who you could like hook up with,
Yeah. I would love nothing more than to offer the table a chance to go like, you see what Utica is doing right now. You don't want to be a part of it. So just leave. I'm sure nothing will happen while you're gone doing other stuff, and just convince them to follow another thread somewhere away and then be like 3 months later, Utico pulled a bunch of shit off because you weren't there to stop them.
Utico has managed to negotiate for an interdictor to sit above their planet and stop traffic that comes and goes from the region, scanning everyone and checking for any valuables and like pirating the local economy. You know what I mean? Like while you were away.
And we can have such a fun discussion, like sort of metatextually about like the dangerous stakes of refusing the call to adventure and the call to heroism. Because if that's like the game we're playing about, like, are we heroes? Are we villains? Like, are we somewhere in between?
And the reason that we're playing on that is because the players expressed a desire to be heroic.
Yeah, exactly. So then we have to say like, do you?
We have to say to them,
sure?
I have presented you an opportunity to be heroic.
Yeah.
You either take it or you don't.
And you live with the repercussions of what that means.
We talk about how in Star Wars, sometimes they don't take it to start, but then they realize after the consequences that they should have and that they do. I mean, the Han Solo story is entirely, I'm not going to help the rebellion, right up until it's, okay, I'm here at the Death Star. You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, it's like, I'm not going to let my friends die, even though I should just go pay Jabba the Hutt,
Just go pay him and then be done. My God. But yeah, I love this a lot. And I think that plays in the space in a way that like a 2-hour Star Wars movie really can't, which is like really live in the philosophy of choosing heroism.
Something I wanted to mention. I totally forgot about it right up until now, and I realize I'm up against it now. Art.
Yeah.
We need art.
We need artists.
I am currently working with Bunny about like what our budget is for the show, we're gonna
$3.
$3. We're gonna have a budget for commissioned art, but I'd really love if you're feeling like confident or you know someone, like link me on Twitter. We're gonna have a budget. Fan art is great, and obviously if you want us to use your fan art for your NPC or whatever, we're gonna.
Heck yeah.
But we want to pay people, and one of the things I really, really need desperately to begin with is landscape art of Vode. I need to put like a Vode, like when they zoom in on like the landscape of a place to give you that like establishing shot. I need that, but like a Vode. And if you know anybody or you are anybody who could like do that, I'll pay you. You know what I mean? And like we're gonna want art for Zayla and Jander. Those two deserve some.
Here's what's gonna have
those
to happen.
Those two deserve some art.
Zayla and Jander need to have like their own character art because they're major villains, but they're done separately in different environments. But like the poses are such that like once it's revealed that they are together and working together and have been the whole time, like they fit together in a frame.
The art fits together.
Yeah,
the
art fits together.
They're like sitting in the same booth actually or something.
Yeah, some real cute shit like that where it actually works out perfectly. That there's a little
Aabria,
art wink.
If you know any character artists that you want to commission for our
here's my thing. I don't know enough artists.
Me neither. Me neither. That's the problem. I'll
be screaming on the Twitter in a second.
I'm currently like swimming in a den of desire with no rope to pull me out towards the artists I require. I made a poem.
That's actually the #1 chart topper in the cantina.
Yeah, swimming in a den of desire.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna need character art. I mean, we won't be able to get the PCs until they're made. And the plan is not to do that until the game actually starts, so their art will come later. But I'd love to have some established art for things like Vode, things like maybe some like Utico stuff, maybe like some of the interior like Vode stuff, like hallway kind of art, like because there's a big difference between like Imperial Star Destroyer white hallways and like underground bunker style construction on Vode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta like consider that difference.
My dream of dreams is to have like this art also exist, or maybe another piece of it that like can actually stand in as background art for us when we play, which would be very cool. Or even if it was just color coding, like something sort of.
The basic reason I'm like art is necessary is because we're not gonna have maps, so like there isn't gonna be like tokens and little like moving things, and like we're not gonna be like 5 feet away from whatever. It's like I need something to put on the screen while we're rolling dice. You know what I mean?
100%.
Nice like background art of like, here's where we are. Here's what it looks like. You know what I mean? Like imagine this, Like when we go into Madame Harani's House of Pleasures, like what does that look like? From the doorway when you look in, show me the House of Pleasures. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff like that.
I love an establishing shot. I'm into it.
Atmospheric scenery art is what I really, really need.
Exactly.
So I'm willing to pay.
Lots of art of crystal foxes. I want so many of those.
Oh, we didn't talk about the wildlife today. I was going to talk about wildlife today.
Nope, that's for next week. Sorry. Oopsie.
I will give you one take from the Discord that I think is the greatest. Hang on one second.
As long as my lickable frogs are still there, because someone mentioned them in chat again.
Lickable frogs, obviously. The Vodian Vicious Viper.
I hate that it's alliterative, and by hate I mean love. Let's go.
These long, thick creatures are usually found where mushroom trees grow in dense thickets, which allow them to move swiftly along the canopies. They can be found moving along the mushroom forest by themselves or in small dens of 3 to 5. From afar, they look like a vine wrapped around a tree trunk or so forth. Once they get close enough, the snake drops from the tree and launches itself towards its meal in a quick dart-like motion, after which it wraps around the body of the creature, constricting it and getting ready to eat. Although the viper's fangs look like a good enough reason to keep away from it, 2 long, sharp teeth. The real danger is found in its skin, coated with scales that shift slightly, revealing a series of tube-like protrusions that serve as canals for a naturally produced acid.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like an awesome Star Wars villain? Like,
little stinging
like
snake.
Star Wars?
I want to be a little stingy snake.
Yeah, a little acid viper. They sound great. There's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch more that was written by wonderful Discord user Pavlogs. But
nice.
I don't.
But I do want to say we also did vicious viper, stingy snake, and acid asp. So we continued playing the alliterative game, and I just want to make sure everyone knows. Ooh, the Viper. Zayla's street name. God, I love this so much. It's so good. That is a good little amuse-bouche of fauna.
So let's close it out here because we're right up against it.
Hundo P.
Let's. Why don't you tell us what else stuff you get up to, Aabria?
Sweet. So, hi, I'm Aabria Iyengar. One half of this sweet GM circle. I guess it's a circle. I don't know.
It's more like
you can call me Jander from now on.
It's more like a line, you know.
It's a little line. It's like the little. Okay, nope. Aabria, just please.
Never mind. Keep going.
You can follow me on social media at Quiddie, Quiddie. I stream all over the place in addition to our Monday game of Rime of the Frost Maiden that is so wonderfully run by our girl here, Elf. I wanted to say your government name. I'm sorry. You can catch me on Fridays over on Pixel Circus's channel at 6 p.m. playing Failed Save, which is D&D actual play. Shoot, I've got weekend stuff coming up that I don't remember what it is.
Oh no.
This week has been wild and I don't know how it goes anymore, but there's a couple charity streams and part 2s of things coming up.
Cool.
So just follow me on socials because I
honestly just
don't know anything else.
Follow Aabria on Twitter. Like you should.
Yeah, please just follow me on Twitter.
You should
I don't
be doing that anyway. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. There's a podcast. I haven't done it in a while. I don't know. I'm gonna go take a nap after this, so don't worry about me. You go now.
Oh yeah. Hi, I'm Distracted Elf. You can find me at twitch.tv/Distracted Elf when I'm streaming video games, or on Twitter at Distracted Elf when you want to find me, like, you know, for normal hanging out stuff. I run Rime of the Frost Maiden for Roll20 on the D&D channel, as Aabria said, and I am putting.
Who's your favorite character?
I can't play favorites.
Is it me? Is it Bersa?
I mean, you're definitely up there. I don't know about favorite, but...
Is it Buggy?
I mean, he's pretty good.
Okay. Continue.
I'm currently, like, putting most of my effort, like, day to day into this. So my focus is very much on the Star Wars stuff at the moment. Even if you come into my regular stream, I'm probably talking about it in some way or another. But so, yeah, I do this as well, and soon on Fridays we'll be doing the actual show. So that's the plan. Also, you know, like, you've seen that I'm doing a bunch of stuff on Roll20, and that Roll20 is cool, and that you should, like, sign up and make your own campaigns and play. There's great, you know, Star Wars Edge of the Empire support made by some people with the API, using the Star Wars dice, as well as the character sheets that you saw today, as well as, I mean, support for like 100 million other games. Can
I shout out one game specifically?
Yeah.
Everyone go play. Like, so here's the thing I like the most about Roll20 is that there's so many, like, levels and types of games that, like, all of Roll20 suits really well. Like, we're talking about building a game that, like, relies less on the sort of wargaming map work, that's a little more endemic of, like, D&D and kind of counting off spaces and places, and talking about using this for, like, atmosphere and, like, sort of adjudication of roles that can be very complex and handled on screen, so we can all feel that same sense of, like, shock and stuff together. But then there are games, one of my favorite of which is called For the Queen, that literally is just, Roll20 allows you to, like, pull the cards together and read them and place them down. And I've been playing more of that lately and kind of being very evangelical about, like, people that I know that like RPGs, that want to do something that's, like, DM-less and light and that can start, that there is also something really soothing about the, like, roundness of the ritual of, like, sort of physically interacting with an object and then putting it down and reading it, and we're all kind of looking at it.
Yeah.
That has scratched a lot of, like, loneliness and interaction itches that, you know, being in quarantine for, like, the 30th year in a row or however long it's been, like, handles really well. And I just want to say that, like, Roll20 is actually really good for having a lot of different options and vectors by which you can, like, interact with gaming and storytelling.
Yeah, thanks very much for that. Adding to my Roll20 stinger.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Like, I don't need to sting it anymore. You've sold it. So make your accounts on roll20.net and make your own games. And if you're playing a Star Wars game, feel free to use Vode. You're welcome.
Hey, oh my God! If you use Vode, you have to
tell us.
You have to tell us, and I mean that the best way possible. Like, if you throw in any of the NPCs that we've been working with and have built, especially Jander and Taylor, like, you have to tell us.
Yeah, feel free,
please.
And I think that's it for us today. So happy gaming, and we'll see you next week to do some more of the sort of like typical stuff that I was talking about, stat generation, and also I won't do it all off screen so that we can do it together, at least some of it. And wildlife, what I want to talk about, definitely.
Aminals.
Because people have been really getting into that. Oh, the last thing that I wanted to add is join the Discord, the Star Wars Desperate Gamble Discord.
Yes, please.
It's very bare bones. It's just got like a general and ideas and an NPC section. But like, it's been jumping for the last week, and it's been super, super cool. And if you're thinking like, I want to get involved with like the creation of this world, I am active in that Discord. So like, do if you want to ask me something, just ping me, you know, and
you can ping me 20% shot that I'll see it in a timely manner.
I'm much more likely to reply than Aabria is.
Ping me, maybe Elf will reply.
Ping Aabria if it's about Jander.
Yeah. Or the mouse droid that I have a lot of ideas about.
Wonderful shout outs to the people who have been doing like art and submitting ideas for the stuff that we did or have used so far. And you know, keep doing it. We're not gonna need you to stop. You know what I mean? Like I can use or not use whatever comes my way. So any idea is a good one.
Yay.
And we'll see you next week for this. Well, we'll see you next week either way, but probably on Rhyme first before this.
Yeah, we'll see you Monday and then again Thursday.
Again Thursday. Okay. Later, nerds. Have a good one. Bye.